Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next few hours, along with Mike.
Oh, good Sunday morning.
And Nick is here.
It's all my fault that we're late.
He's telling the truth.
Oh.
All Google Plus's fault that we're late.
Our number is 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And today's show is being brought to you, as usual, by that vidblasterguy.com, Tom Sinclair, and by Adamus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals. And today is August 17th, 2014.
It's almost winter.
And you can't wait, I know.
I
know.
cannot.
I know. If you guys didn't see Nick's site about Albany storms,
I got to do a little. I might do that today. Actually, I have to do a little. Take a picture and do a little write up about the enclosure I made. Not like it was my idea. There's a million other ideas, but I copied somebody else's.
Question.
So, yeah.
Do you guys hear any of the abnormalities that we had last week?
Nobody else.
Echo, clicking, whatever.
You're still clicking a little bit.
I
hear that, Mike?
I'm wondering if that's could that be because of the DBX?
Doubtful. It's probably the high CPU usage on the computer.
Oh, the CPU now is 71. It's fine.
That's not that high.
71's not so bad.
Okay.
But it's not all the time. It's not as bad as it was last week.
I keep forgetting to tell you, Mike.
Uh-oh.
Remember these noises that we were hearing?
Yeah.
I tried everything, and it was still there.
Yeah.
I took out. Remember, I was telling you that if I turn off the laptop, it would stop.
No, I don't remember that.
See, I even forgot to tell you that. If the laptop was on, it would be very light. But if I had the laptop monitoring a page like I'm doing right now, it would be really loud. I changed laptops. It's gone. So something in that laptop was transmitting something over the, I don't know if it's on the Ethernet or electrical or whatever, but because I guess it's real close to the mixer, it was doing it. So now I can turn it all the way up, everything, gain and volume and there's a lot of feedback, but there's no clicking. I keep forgetting to tell you.
The DBX 286 that's on your microphone.
It's what?
Hit the bypass switch, push the button that says bypass or whatever it is.
Okay, I did.
And just leave it there for a moment and let's see how that does.
Oh, wait a second, wait. High pass. No.
No, bypass.
The process bypass.
Process bypass.
Okay. There we go.
Just leave it there for now.
All right, it's fine. So yeah, that was very interesting. I had an older.
Mike, I think it's the just the sound card because Tim is saying on the stream he doesn't hear the clicks, and I mean they're pretty obvious. They're pretty obvious if they're there. It's probably just Amnon, I wonder if you just have what sound card are you using for Skype, or for the Hangout?
One of the CA.
I'm wondering if you just like after the show just unplug the UCA202 and plug it back in. It might go away. I've had problems with sound cards clicking before, making weird sounds. You just unplug them and plug them back in. For whatever reason, that fixes it.
Mike, we have a new audio expert.
He's an expert on everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an expert on
math,
video, lower
it's
thirds,
worth
math.
a chance. It's probably about time that I actually took that middle part of the disc and unplugged and put some deoxit.
Now we got to give Nick credit where credit is due.
Absolutely.
Nick has done a fabulous job on creating we had a little project. We were sitting around one day talking about who all was doing internet broadcast at certain times of the day, and unfortunately some people are not very good about tweeting out when they're going to go on the air, Merle. And so we decided it would be good to have a calendar where those of us who enjoy listening to and at least sampling internet broadcasts would be able to just click on it and see what's going on. So Nick created a site, whenisiton.net. Whenisiton.net. The calendar there, fortunately/unfortunately, is we're outgrowing the calendar already. We didn't expect as much, it's not so much the traffic as it's so many people are doing shows at the same time.
Yeah.
So we're going to look for another camera, but at least for now, if you look at it today, it's not a problem at all. Mm-hmm. If you look at it by the week, it's pretty congested. But if you have a show that you're doing on a regular basis, then if you go to whenisiton.net, on the left side of the screen, there is a link that says to add your show. You click here. There's a little form that you fill out. It sends an email, then Nick adds it to the calendar. Even better than that is if you follow When Is It On Twitter, then you will get a tweet in advance of, is it every show?
It is they're all 29 shows that are on the calendar are on Twitter.
And
When Is It On?
I'll give you my PayPal account. You can send me money anytime you want. Hi, Andrew.
Morning,
All of Andrew's shows are on there. Nick's show is on there. Computers 2K
all
now.
of Amnon's shows are
all
on
of
there.
Amnon's shows are there. Donovan has his show there. And I have already, since Nick did it, and I mean, it's just now rolled out, and I have already listened to several shows that I was not aware of when they were on, or I would forget about them, mostly in the evenings, and I think it's going to be really useful.
Yeah. The only problem is if that's the calendar is...
If you don't see everything, look on the upper right, and you can see it by the week, by the day, by the month.
Yeah, I defaulted it now to the 4-day view, which is much more manageable. You can you can see everything.
But if
guys there,
if anybody is not comfortable with the way, or they don't see everything, you have different choices that you can.
Plus, you can only look at certain
display.
events. If you're only interested in technology, you just click the little drop down and you only see the tech stuff, and then you're fine.
Novena says that Studio Tech Live is missing, and they should add it. They should let us know.
We're
not adding anything unless they ask us to.
Nick,
it's enough to manage it. They've got to add their own stuff.
Guys, you forgot to mention something. Nick doesn't just add them. The person running the show needs to ask to be added.
Let's not even ask. It's just, like Mike said, if you go to the website, there's a form. You put in your show name, a network name if you have it, the category, the day of the week, the start and end time. People love to forget that. Start and end time in Eastern.
Right, so this is why Studio Tech is missing, because nobody asked to be added.
Correct.
They haven't. It's not an ask. If you submitted
or
it,
did not apply, or call it whatever you want.
Yeah, they didn't
They,
apply.
they may not want to be on it. We're not going to assume that they do.
It is public. It is public for everyone. Every
Right.
every podcast is
That's-
welcome.
Mike, I have another audio
Oh boy.
question. You guys are coming in really hot,
Thank you.
loud.
And then what you should do is turn it down.
No, now, what I'm turning down, I have to turn down the main PC fader because that's what you're coming in on. You're the same as, and what that does is it reduces the output of VidBlaster to the CDN. So then you understand how it works. I mean, we are on the same. I don't have a separate fader for like Skype that I could lower the fader and still go out the same way out to the world. Now, when I lower, I'm lowering the main output of VidBlaster to the CDNs.
Why do you not have a? Why are we on the same sound card?
Because it's not the same sound card. It's the same. It's in order. You're coming in through the computer. You are the computer.
Yeah. So why are we not? The VidBlaster and Skype or the Hangout should be on a separate sound card, not the same sound card.
It is, and we are on it, and it's not doing anything. See, on the Skype voice, which we use, I can go up and down. I mean, that doesn't make any difference. I'm up all the way. I'm down all the way. It's not doing it. Don't ask me. I really don't know, Nick, but this is why I'm asking Mike. I mean, maybe something very simple.
Well, I don't know. What you're saying is conflicting here. So we are both. So the audio from the computer and the Hangout are on the same sound card.
On the same fader, on the same channel on the
So if
mixer.
they're on the same channel, that means they're on the same sound card.
Well,
They have to be. You can't have two things
no,
going into
it's
one
not,
channel.
because there is a line input VB, which is for VidBlaster, and there's line input Skype.
Well, then
The
you're not
Hangouts
utilizing both
are
sound
using
cards.
Skype. VidBlaster is using VB.
Well-
two different UCA 202s.
Well, then how can they be on the same fader?
I have no idea. That's what I'm saying. I have no way of lowering the volume coming from you.
Because we're not on a separate sound card.
Well,
In Google Plus, what is the sound card set
it's
to?
line in Skype.
The output.
The output is default.
Well, that would be it. You'd have to set the output to.
To the Skype one?
If you want to control it with the Skype fader, yeah.
Let's see. I was looking at this morning. You are absolutely correct. Let's see. See? Line in Skype. So we're going to fix this one is speakers Skype, right?
Yep.
And save it. Talk. Yes. Now?
Hello.
See, I knew it was something stupid.
Well, yeah, you just didn't have the sound card select. So
Yeah,
essentially,
that's
yes.
it. Now it's fine.
My initial thing was we were on the exact same sound card.
Right. Now let me completely quit Skype. So nothing happens. Okay. That was it.
Well, there we
Now
go.
we can tell Mike that you solved the problem.
He won't believe me. It's fine.
I still don't have a grasp of it, the input and the output, as far as how it goes out to the net. I mean, why is it the speakers? I mean, this is
Amnon,
yeah.
think about it this way. All right? If you have water coming into your house
Yeah.
Mike's
the
water
spring.
analogies are always
from
the
your
best.
well, okay?
Right.
That's input. If you got a sewer line going to a septic tank, that's output.
Right.
Now you got it.
That's what you think. I
So what was it?
I
I'm not gonna
understand
believe you.
that.
I helped Amnon with his audio issues.
I understand that,
Oh,
but
no.
you see, I'm thinking about your sound going out coming into the mixer and going out as the input. I mean, I want to lower your input, your microphone. To me, that sounds like it's input. It's not output. I'm trying to lower your input.
Well,
but that's wrong,
we
obviously.
Don't need to spend all the show on this, but here's the thought. You're correct in both cases. My voice coming to you over the computer out of the sound card is the output of that sound card. But in that piece of wire, it magically transforms for input, and it's the input on the mixer.
All right. Well, we'll talk about it.
It's both.
Okay. Wait a second.
Output of the computer is the input of the mixer.
Okay. That's right. It's an input to a certain point, and then it's output. Okay. It's
you can't
output
connect
and
two
then
outputs together. They just bump heads.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, this fixed it. That's it.
I mean, you take the you got a connector, an XLR connector, a male and a female. You plug the male into the female, right? They have to be different, opposite. Input, output. If you try to plug two females together, then that gets Andrew excited.
Okay.
Mike, I'm taking your title.
Please.
I'm now the audio.
Why didn't you do it last night?
I don't know. I'm now the audio expert.
Yes, you are. What did you change while I was gone? What did you break?
He didn't have the sound card selected.
No.
I had the microphone was the line in Skype, but
no. The microphone should have been the line in, and then the out. See, you're thinking that the line in is our audio coming out, and it's not.
Correct.
Yeah, it's the
they see that's the way I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So I had line in Skype for the microphone and default for the output, the speakers. So I changed it to speakers Skype, which is what Skype uses, and that fixed it. Yep. Like I said, it was something really stupid and simple.
Yeah, the popping is still there though.
Well,
you guys on the stream hear Amnon's little popping in his voice. I know audio's not important.
I'll listen to it.
Okay.
Turn it real loud in your.
Amnon, just keep talking. I'll listen.
I mean, do you only hear it when I'm talking, Mike, or is it there all along?
It's interruptions in your audio. It is not just a popping sound that's superimposed. It's interruptions in the audio.
So I can be talking and it's suddenly it's missing syllables and.
No, it's not that bad. It's just a little ticking in the sound.
It is not in the main output.
Okay, then forget about it. We can live with it.
Yeah, I listened to right after you finished your sentence and he started talking. It popped, and then on the stream it did not.
Mike, that thing is still in bypass. Leave it.
No, go ahead and push it back in, or unpush it.
No, Tim's a pop filter. It's not a pop.
It's not like a pop. It's not a plosive.
It's like a digital pop.
Tick.
Yeah.
Tim,
and
I'm really
never pops the mic because he's never close enough to it.
I'm really I don't know if it looks like I'm talking right into the mic, but I'm actually completely I'm talking 90 degrees away from the mic.
Excellent.
It is next to me, but it is now I'm talking right into the mic.
That's better. But even though it's Google Hangout, it really quality is not important.
I just wanted him because he said Amnon is talking into the mic. I just wanted Tim to see it because sometimes when you see it in on the video, it may be misleading because it's 2D and not 3D. Hey, that's what we need to do, 3D.
Oh yeah, SD 640 by
3D, right?
Yeah.
Katie was here yesterday, and she was telling me that she had a 3D projects that she was doing at work, and she sat there and she finished it, and then she had to render it, and it told her that it's going to take 72 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So she left it there. The next morning, it really, I mean, it said there was like 50 some or 60 some left. So she said, this is ridiculous. And she took it home and put it on her computer that she just got from me. It doesn't even have a GPU. I mean, a separate GPU. It's an i7 4770 with 16 gigs. Straight out of the box, nothing special. It took 45 minutes.
Yeah, well, depending on what
She
software
said she
using,
couldn't believe it. Oh, it's the same software. The software is from work. It's,
yeah, well, I'm saying depending on the software, not all video software requires a beefy GPU.
Oh,
There's some 3D software that does some of the rendering on the CPU.
I'm still wondering about whether you do much better with an external GPU when you have an i7 that has the GPU sort of like built in, the graphics.
Yeah, the built-in, the graphics accelerated HD 4000 or 5000, I mean, they're junk.
Well,
if you are doing video work, they are junk.
interesting. Well, for her, it was working.
Yeah, well, but see, that software may not have been using the CPU like I know for a fact, Adobe.
They're using all Adobe, but it's Cinema.
Yeah, it's probably After Effects.
There's something called Cinema.
Oh yeah, Adobe Cinema. I think that's what it's called.
I think. I don't know. Anyway, she was very impressed, and she was talking to people at work about it.
But if she's doing graphics work, she should have an external GPU.
She does it at the office. I mean, this she just wanted to take on home and see what her computer will do. So it was interesting. Anyway, what else been happening? Why isn't Andrew here?
He's sobering up. He went out with a TV star last night.
I don't know about you. I don't watch Netflix. But it says something here about that beginning with Chrome 38 beta, it is now possible to watch Netflix without any Wine/Silverlight plugins. But will work natively using Chrome's DRM HTML5 video capabilities with Netflix. The steps just involve using the latest beta of Chrome and an HTTP user agent switcher to tell Netflix you're a window Chrome user, due to Netflix arbitrarily blocking the Linux build. I didn't think that you can just go and download the beta.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah. I think it's like.
All right.
Chrome.
I wonder if this is this coming out of the same situation that we are not using Google Talk now with the Chrome, with the new Chrome. I mean, are these just they're migrating away from all these plugins?
Well, that's what a beta is. I mean, they're getting rid of stuff and then they're testing it on the beta.
Because right now I see that red dot up there.
Yeah, but that's rolled into every. That's not the case of the beta anymore.
Okay, let's see. What somebody keeping up with? Steve said he was not going to be here. By the way.
Okay.
Well, that's not good.
Well, I asked him if there was anything wrong. I did not hear back. But are you keeping up with what's happening in the chat? Because I'm Really not.
Yes. I'm a chat expert.
Nick, what you got?
What do you mean?
Oh, stories, something, gaming.
Oh, I've got an interesting story.
Okay.
I seem to be the only one that is excited about something like this. There's an article on CNET this week.
New Justin Bieber CD, is that what it is?
It is. It is the new Justin Bieber CD. I am proud to say I stood in line all night to get it.
Okay.
Let me pull up Desktop Presenter and I can actually show you the story.
Any day now.
Yeah, oh crap. Hold on. Display 2, display 4. There it is. Okay. So there is this new reversible USB, and for whatever reason I seem to be the only one that is excited about this.
I'm excited about it.
Are you?
3.1.
Yeah, this is going to be good. It was released, or the USB 3 Propter group has finalized their design for the Type C USB 3.1 plug, and the good thing about this plug is that it's totally reversible.
Yeah,
so
great for Mac users.
Yeah, their whole thing now is instead of having your micro or mini USB on one side and then your standard USB on the other side that plugs into the computer, you'll have this this double box with, or not this double box, this cable that you could plug into either side. So now you just basically have a bunch of the same cables instead of having USB to micro, USB to mini, and then if they want to use this on tablets, laptops, phones, and it's the USB Type C connector, and it's got speeds of 10 gigabits a second. There you go.
And you have to use all these adapters.
No,
No, you just throw out all your computers and buy all new ones, and you're covered.
No, I don't. It's this will be good. Now you're not having to fish around for the right USB cable.
But I understand you can flip the plug over either way too, can't you?
Yeah, that's it too.
It doesn't matter. You don't have to look for the most people don't realize it, but if you look at a USB plug, you will see that one side of the plug has a seam down it where the metal actually wraps around and connects to itself to form the plug. And I don't know that you can see it very well, but for example, if you look at this USB key, you won't be able to see it. But if you flip it over, this side, again, I don't think you...
Yeah, no, we can see it.
See that little line on there? There's
Yeah,
a little
in the
line
middle.
down the middle of it.
Keep turning it.
I'm trying to.
Now, when you glare it towards the monitor, there you go. Now you can see it.
Well, I'm just rotating it all around. Anyway, there's a little line down that side. It's not on this side. It's only on this side. That's the bottom. 95% of the time, if you insert it into your computer with that line down, it'll go straight in, and you won't end up trying to break the computer or the USB plug. Whenever the USB plugs are sideways, it's about 50-50 which way is normal. Most of the time, the ones that I have, whenever the plug is sideways, like on a car player or something, you look at the seam while you're putting it in, so that the seam would be towards you. That's been my experience so far. I don't think there's any sort of standard with regard to which way it is supposed to be on sideways.
I have that. Do you remember we had a guest about 2 years ago, I think, and they were talking about the new USB cable that actually was not just one square thing. It had another one like tacked on top of it. Let me see what it was. If that's, I wonder if that went by the wayside.
Amnon disappeared.
I'm looking for the cable. You guys keep going.
No, we miss you. I pulled an Amnon yesterday. Night before last night and yesterday. I had a computer. Oh, I'm the only one here. No wonder nobody's talking. But I had a computer that was getting the best of me. It belongs to a friend of mine, and laptop computer. The complaint was it's really slow. Well, that normally means malware. So I took it upon myself to start working on the computer and was able to run Malwarebytes. I was able to run ADW Cleaner. I was able to run. I ultimately had to run. There were no rootkits, thankfully. I ran TDSS Killer. If you're not familiar with these programs, if you service computers, you really ought to go to bleepingcomputer.com and take a look around. There's some really awesome tools there. I even ran Combo Fix, which you're not supposed to do, but I did anyway, and it came out pretty clean. The problem was that every time and when I first got the computer, when I started Chrome, it worked just fine. But by the time I got through working on the computer, I couldn't get Chrome to start. And I did a bunch of research and work and found out that it would run fine in safe mode. Okay, so that's then something you can search on. I did searches for Chrome runs only in safe mode. Tons and tons and tons of articles out there. None of the fixes worked. And then, out of curiosity, I decided to create another user account on that computer as Windows 7. So I created another user account, started Chrome, it worked perfectly. Well, that tells me there's something in the profile, the main profile, that's causing it not to run. Uninstalling, reinstalling did nothing, so one thing led to the next, and I finally took Revo Uninstaller, uninstalled Chrome using the level 4, which is the search and destroy, find everything. Yes, Tim, I'm using a shotgun. And it removed everything from it. Then I took CCleaner, cleaned out the registry, cleaned out any remnants of any junk that was left over. But then I went into the new account and reinstalled Chrome, but I did the administrative install, and that is that I installed it from the hard drive instead of by active download. I started it up. Sure enough, everything worked just fine. Only took 8 hours.
But you got it done.
I always get it done, Amnon.
I found the cable. It's a USB 3.0 Type A to Type B cable.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got one side is normal standard USB. The other side is different. Let me get here.
Yeah, I think that's the one that like hard drive enclosures use.
See?
Yeah, that's it.
Now I've got a hard drive that's USB 2 or 3, and it doesn't have that kind.
Hard drive enclosures. The hard drive wouldn't have that. I mean, that's
No. The enclosure, yeah, but it's one of them little ones.
Yeah, I have one that's
it doesn't have that. I have never seen a device that had that type of connector yet.
No, I've got a cheap Amazon USB hard drive enclosure,
and it has that dual, like double stack.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Up to super speed of 5 gigabits.
Super.
I thought it's 6 now, isn't it? What am I thinking?
That could be an old cable. It'll be up to 10.
No external power needed. I don't know. It's an interesting cable. Anyway. I was listening to Nick on his show Radar on the Radar.
On the Gator, you mean?
On the Radar.
No.
Thursday, and when he was talking about that reversible USB. And you know how those youngins talking. And he's complaining that there is micro and there is mini. And, you know, you want to break in and say, Nick, you should have had phones and devices back 10 years, 12 years. Every device had a different one. Each device had a different one. Each phone had a different connector. You could not take a power supply from one phone and use it on another. You could not take a headset from one phone to another. Each phone had to have their own thing. It was proprietary.
I don't understand why that's still a standard.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's becoming more of a standard. Now
but you still got Apple with their stupid Lightning BS. It's just I don't know why we just can't have a standard cable.
Why we can't have a standard? I thought you said why is this still the standard?
Well, because Apple wants $30 a piece for a $3 cable.
It's I don't know. It's just such a pain. I've got like a million micro USB cables, and when I end up getting an iPhone, I'm gonna have to go out and buy 3 Lightning connectors.
Yeah, I mean it's they came a long way. A lot of phones now use the same thing, and you can take a charger from one and go with the other.
Every phone that is not an iPhone, I believe, uses micro USB. Now, I know every Android phone does. I'm not sure about Windows Phone, but every Android phone will use the exact same micro, which is the really thin USB.
And talking about an iPhone, and we always talk about Mac users, right, Mike?
We love Mac
listen
users.
to this.
They keep the economy going.
A what?
They keep the economy going.
Yeah. A Florida man currently on trial for murder reportedly attempted to use Siri to garner ideas about where to bury the body of his dead roommate. According to police allegations, a University of Florida student named Pedro Bravo murdered his roommate via strangulations in late September 2012 over a dispute involving Bravo's ex-girlfriend. According to a detective working on the case, Bravo subsequently fired up Siri on his iPhone and asked it, "I need to hide my roommate." If this was an Android user, he would probably know already what to do. He would have gotten caught, but he would know. He wouldn't need to ask anybody. Seems like Mac users always have to ask somebody what they need to do. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for that.
No. I call BS on the story.
You do?
Yeah. It's that's the big funny thing with Siri, because their phone has to be cute and do all this cool stuff. But people ask that Siri all the time, where to hide a dead body. That's not a.
No, I mean, are you reading something that says that this is a bogus story? Is that what you mean?
No, I know for a fact that whenever people get iPhones, whenever people are sitting around and having to show off how amazing Siri is, that's one thing they always ask is where to hide a dead body.
Oh.
So that's why I have a suspicion that at one point this gentleman asked his phone where to hide a dead body, and the correlation was not there.
Oh, I see what you mean. So it's.
I don't know. See. I know for a fact people always say that. For example, we had neighbors over there, and they pull out Siri and it gets like 6 things wrong in a row, and then they ask her where to hide a dead body. It's like, oh, look, there's a dump.
Okay.
So.
Mike, you have an iPhone, right?
I do.
Did you ever use Siri?
Mine doesn't have it. I have the 4.
Oh. Oh, well.
sent you guys links earlier in the week about there are interviews with ladies who do the lady who did the Siri voice, the lady who does the voicemail for most telephone systems, and it was interesting because the lady who does Siri, apparently she just now has gone public with it.
Yeah, I saw it on CNN. Yeah. I was surprised that she didn't. That was the first time she's done anything about it. I wonder if she had
under contract.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's been a long time. Siri's been since the 4S, I think.
This week I had problems with UPSs, with a UPS, uninterruptible power supply. That is, for those of you who don't know. It's an APC 2200. It's a big unit, but it's only 1.4. 1.4 kVA. The unit is probably about 20 years old. But it's been working great. About, 7-8 months ago, I came back from lunch and smelled something that smelled like sulfur. So I'm going around kind of like trying to see where it is, and say, I must have opened the door and it came in. But then it was getting stronger. So I started walking around, came in the studio, it was stronger. And just like a hound dog, I was down on my knees, smelling everywhere. And got to the UPS, and boy, oh boy, did it smell. Touched the UPS on the side, and it was hot. So I turned off everything here in the studio and opened the machine. I couldn't even touch the batteries. They were so hot. I'm serious. I couldn't even touch them. And they were swollen, like they were infected with something.
Ebola.
Ebola. Yeah. So somehow I managed to bend here and bend there and pull them out after letting it cool off overnight. Got the batteries out, and those batteries have been there for probably about 7-8 years. But I did not use the UPS in all this time. It was just sitting there, and every now and then I would plug it in and let it charge and turn it off. So I said, okay, those batteries are old. So I got new batteries. Well, this week it happened again. Now this is 6-7 months later. Started smelling it. I said, I know that smell. Came in here. Sure enough, same thing. Swollen. These are all brand new batteries. Managed to get them out. I said, okay, I don't care about that. There's something wrong with this UPS. Obviously, it's overcharging. So I bent the frame out and got them out, put them outside. 4 batteries. And I had another one. And started looking on. I always find my UPSs on Craigslist. There's no reason to buy a new one when it comes to the bigger ones. Found a guy that had 2 of the even older ones than this one, but they're nicer because they have the UPS is 1 unit and the battery pack is another unit, and they fit on top of each other to form 1 unit, and they connect with the cable in the back. And they're also 1.4 kVA. The nice thing about it, I said, okay, now what I want to make sure that nothing happens in the room, because these batteries could have exploded at one point or another if it was in a place that the air was not circulating to the rest of the house and I wouldn't smell it. Said, I want to put the batteries outside. So I said, this will work perfect because it has a plug in the back. I can just extend the wires and everything will be fine. So I asked Mike what gauge wire I should use. And he was at work. He said, I'm not sure, but there's a chart somewhere. I went looking. Mike, I couldn't find it, but I called APC. And they've got some good people there. That engineer took the time, and we talked for a long time.
Well, that means he was bored and no one
Well,
ever
maybe
calls
he
to
was
talk to
bored.
him.
I mean, I was the
You
sixth.
should call him once a week.
I was the sixth one in the queue. It took me
Yeah.
about 20 some minutes to get to him.
Yeah, he had to finish up his video game.
Well, all right. But what I learned was, first of all, he couldn't tell me that because he said, we don't recommend doing this. We cannot tell you what to use. You can do it, but you can figure it out yourself. And then when I looked at the battery pack of the connectors in it, I said, because I took the batteries out, the old one, I mean, the two that I bought had batteries in there, but they were dead. I said, okay, the batteries are connected with jumpers. And I see what gauge it is. I can just buy 6, 8, 10 foot of maybe this gauge or a little bit longer and use that. It'll be fine because, I mean, it's not like to be used for a long time. It's for maybe 1 minute. But then what I learned from the guy, and that's interesting for those of you that maybe have that type of setup, he said, we don't recommend putting the batteries outside. And the reason is the UPS has sensors to know how much to charge depending on the ambient temperature and on the bigger ones, the ones that are 1 unit, it can actually sense the temperature within the unit of the batteries. He said if you put the batteries outside, and let's say in the winter it's freezing outside, and inside the room it's normal temperature, we engineer the units to react to what's going on. We figure that they're in the same environment, same temperature, same humidity, same everything. You put it outside, there's really no way of telling. It may start charging more, it may charge less. I couldn't tell you because I don't think anybody ever done this. And in the summer, it'll be the other way around. It may be 100 degrees outside, and inside it's 70. There is that problem. So I said, look, I don't care if the UPS breaks. I mean, now I got those two that normally cost about, I don't know, about $700-800 if you buy them new. I got them both for $100. So it's fine. I have an extra one that I said if something would happen, it's fine. I mean, I'd rather do it like this and be able to sleep at night than to have to worry about those batteries heating up and maybe exploding. He said, well, that's up to you, but I couldn't recommend you doing that. I couldn't give you advice about that. I said, I understand. I ordered batteries to go inside. The other thing that he was telling me, and that's another thing that you guys need to think about with APC, there are 12 volt. These are all 12 volt batteries. These were 18 amp hours. There are 12-15, there are 12-8, 12-7. It all depends, and it's bigger and bigger batteries. There are two kinds that I came across. One is called SLA, and don't ask me what it is. And the other one that he mentioned was VRLA. He said APC recommends to use VRLA because they're regulated, valve regulated or something like that. I can't remember exactly what he said. And when I went looking for batteries, I saw that the one I was actually looking at said VRLA. I said, oh, that's it. And it was a very good price, so I ordered. But then at that point, this was Friday, everything in the studio that's on the UPS is turned off. because I didn't have a UPS, I mean, a big enough UPS to work. Said, okay, I'm going to try something. So I went and I got the swollen batteries, and they wouldn't fit in the box because they were swollen. Put them there in the box, kind of cockeyed, but connected them. They had 51 volts when I checked. So I said, okay, the batteries are still good. And if I shorted, it really sparked. So I said, they have enough power. Connected it, and everything is working. I mean, we're working on it right now with one of the newer units that I bought. Well, newer. The newer old units. But I came here Friday afternoon, yesterday, this morning, every now and then, and I touch the batteries to see if they're getting hot. Because, and that's again something I learned from the guy at APC, this can happen if there is overcharging. When I checked the voltage on the unit that fried them, the voltage was 55.5. And these are 48 volt. There are 4 batteries of 12 connected in series. So they work off of 48 volts. I was reading, they say anywhere from 53.5 to 55.1 or something like that. This was 55.5. I checked the voltage on the ones that we're using now. It was 54.7. And Mike, I'm thinking 1 volt.
Oh.
See, okay. So there's got to be something in the circuitry of that UPS that was maybe
You're forgetting something.
Okay.
A 12-volt battery is 13.8 volts.
Yeah.
13.8 times 4 is how much?
Mike, Nick, you're the math expert.
I'm sorry,
40,
I just walked
52,
back.
52, 53 something. Right?
55.2.
Yeah, exactly. 55.2. Yeah.
How much? No, wait a minute. It's 55.4.
Yeah.
No, it's 55.2.
55.5.
2.
5.
2.
Well, the thing is, when it's charging, the new one now that is there is charging 54.7, and I left the voltmeter on it, and it goes 54.7, 8, 7, 8, 7, 6, 7, 8, 7. So it's anywhere from 6 to 7. 54, not 55. He was saying that if the batteries are old, they will get hot. Now, these batteries were only like 6 months. There's no way that they were old. But I was afraid because they were swollen that something. So far, it's perfect.
The reason batteries heat up is because they develop a low internal impedance. And as a low impedance, they turn into a resistor. As resistors drop in value, they consume more power, and as they consume power, they get hot. As they get hot, they destruct.
So where would the fault be? Why would they develop it? Is it a faulty battery, or is it?
Well, no. They just, with age, chemicals break down.
Okay, but these were 6 months old.
I'm telling you
perfectly
that
fresh.
there are any number of things that can happen. For one thing, the batteries can be defective. Usually what happens when a battery like that fails early is the charging cycle of the inverter does not match the charging cycle of the battery.
Right, I understand. So that's what I'm thinking, that there was something wrong. I mean, that charger should charge, and when the batteries get full, it should just trickle, because these are not online. These are line interactive. They switch when the power fails. They don't work off of the batteries all the time, which is called online.
But if you go into, and I don't recommend you do this, you're welcome to if you choose, but if you go into, they say to look at Yuasa batteries, go in and pull the engineering data sheet on the battery, it will give you a charging curve. when you design a charger to operate that battery, it has to follow that charging curve. And if it does not follow that curve, then you have the potential and very likely will destroy the battery. Have you ever, for example, heard people talk about burglar alarms and they say they have to replace the battery every year versus other burglar alarms, this battery, gel cell battery, lasts 3, 4, 5 years?
Right.
That's because of a bad design in the charging circuit.
Okay.
That's why you don't mix and match batteries. That's why you don't buy the wrong battery for your whatever device it is that you're using to charge. I mean, even if you look at power tools, if you look at for example, if you have a nickel cadmium tool with a charger, then the manufacturer releases the same tool with a lithium ion battery. Some chargers will support the charge profile for either battery, some do not. And if they do not, using the lithium ion battery, the charger can destroy the lithium ion battery. If the charger is intelligent enough to know the difference between the two, you're free to use the lithium ion battery with your existing charger.
Yeah, now that you bring it up, my Panasonic cordless phones use nickel cadmium. And at some point, I actually replaced the battery pack, 3 AA's, with my own version of it, three AA's, but they were nickel metal hydride, because I know that those don't have memory. And
well, that's not really true. They say they don't, but they do.
Well, I mean, the other ones. They learn a lot faster if you keep on putting them in the cradle. But it takes longer to charge them because I guess the charger is for nickel cadmium. But it's been working fine for years. It's just that I can't leave it there for 4 or 5 hours and expect it to be full. It takes overnight to charge. But it's just interesting. Okay, now Dr. John says some chargers have a switch. Oh, that's for, yeah.
Right.
That's right, yeah. Yeah.
It changes the charging profile.
Right. These for the little, not...
The general terminology is what's the charging curve? And you have to do it, and that is it may require a trickle charge, and then you can soak it. You may be able to hit it up front. I'm not a battery expert. Like Nick is, but I will tell you that you have to know what the manufacturer recommends for that battery. If you don't follow it, you will destroy the battery.
Well, hopefully I'm right now. What I did is I also went on eBay and ordered me 2 temperature gauges. I think they were like $5 a piece, that have a probe on a wire, so a remote probe that I can just stick down there. I figure I'll stick them right between the batteries and bring it out and hang it somewhere here so I can watch the temperature. And if it starts fluctuating or creeping up, because those things don't just get hot over 2 minutes. They do it slowly, but if I see that, then I know that there's a problem. I'm tempted to take that UPS that fried them and throw it away. But I may try that one with... I had plans to put 4 car batteries outside and see how it does with that, and monitor the voltage that it's charging and see if it's going up or if it's...
There are some ways of doing these things, Amnon, that you can get into a big mess if you're not careful. You can cause a car battery to explode if you're not careful.
I've seen one exploding.
That would not be good news. I don't recommend it.
No, that's why I want it outside.
But you may remember what I was mentioning to you before, that if you're dead into creating 4 car batteries for long-term backup to be able to operate things in your house for a long period of time, then what I strongly recommend to you, and I think you researched it and didn't like my answer, but what my recommendation is that if you're going to start paralleling batteries or even seriesing these batteries, you need to do some homework first.
No, no, no.
In one place.
I'm not going to do any of that.
I'm saying for anyone who gets the idea. A lot of people, this is not an uncommon idea. And what I recommend is that you go talk to one of the techs over at an RV camper center, because they tend to work a lot with batteries and inverters and things, including paralleling and batteries and putting them in series. You can learn a lot. There are some devices that you can get, which are really nothing but extremely big diodes and resistors that allow you to marry batteries together and get the full life out of them.
No, I mean, I just want to, I just want to extend whatever is there. I'm not going to change the way it goes. So if there are 4 batteries in there, there'll be 4 batteries outside. Only they'll be bigger batteries. Which the reason why, it's not just because of longer run, because like I said, they're cheaper.
But Amnon, they have a different charging cycle than the batteries in there, unless there are car batteries in it.
Right, I understand.
Okay. And I will tell you that if you're going to use car batteries outside, you need really heavy wire. Think about
so the jumpers that connect one battery to the other.
No.
Wait.
Wires that
the battery that connects one to the other internally, which are only about maybe 3 inches long.
You can get away with 12 gauge wire with no problem.
They are 12. They are 12 gauge. So
right.
What do you think I should go to? 8?
Yeah, I'd start there, because think about jumper cables. That's 500 cranking amps. You're not going to be dealing with something like that.
Right.
So you know that any sort of jumper cable, reasonable jumper cable,
is
over, depending on distance, should be adequate.
Right. Yeah. But there's no starting it. I mean, whatever I use, that's what stays there, because it's not going to get hot.
What's the distance?
Unless I'm thinking about 10 feet.
So, I mean, yeah, if you probably the same sort of wire for jumper cables, probably an 8 gauge, something like that. I mean, if you got it, I'd find something I already had and use it. And if it was 6 gauge or 4 gauge, I'd go ahead and use it. I don't think I'd use anything smaller than 8.
Okay.
Not because the wire can't handle it or because there's a safety issue. It's because you don't want a voltage drop between the batteries and the charger.
Right. And you think that I can actually see the drop?
Absolutely.
When it's not under load?
Right. Well, I spoke too quickly. You can absolutely see the drop whenever you want to see the drop, and that is that you can take your voltmeter and extend the leads on the voltmeter between the 2 terminals. You can actually measure the voltage drop across the cable. You can measure it when it's charging. You can measure it when it's under load. You can measure it when it's just sitting there.
Okay.
Dan says he's running welding cable to run AB battery configuration in his van. But again, now welding cable, which I totally agree with. I mean, if you have jumper cables for your car, if you buy these cheap Kmart jumper cables, good luck. There's no comparison between having good welding cable jumper cables, like what is it, number 4, number 2, somewhere. I mean, these are big, heavy-duty, expensive cables. But when you connect 2 batteries together, a dead battery to your car battery, with these heavy cables, you jump in the second car, you crank it immediately. If you use, and you can test this, if you use these cheap Chinese Kmart dollar store jumper cables, which some of them are probably 12 gauge wire or smaller, you actually have to connect the 2 batteries together and wait 10 to 15 minutes because there's so much voltage drop across the wire that it takes a while to get the dead battery up to a point that the car can crank, drawing power out of the battery and through the jumper cables. That's because the cranking power for a car is very high. It's an instantaneous demand that you're not going to have that with your typical battery.
Yeah. So
But
anyway,
Nick's the battery expert. I don't know why we're talking about it.
the what?
Nick is the battery expert. I don't know why we're talking
Nick is the
about
math
it.
expert.
Yeah, I agree with everything.
Well, batteries are just math.
Anyway, it was an interesting week as far as UPSs and learning and all that. Now, there's a guy that I bought another UPS from on Craigslist that had a 3,000.
VA.
It's a 26 kVA rack mount to put at Time Warner, and when I looked it up, it's a $1,700 UPS, and he had it for $250, so I got it from him. It's also an APC, but it's a very nice UPS.
Yeah, I never buy UPSs used.
Well, I never buy them new. I bought 2 new ones back when I started Delta Force. One for here, one for the Colo. They're still working. And by the same token, I've got a whole bunch of used ones. And the big ones are still I mean, I have a UPS at the office that I'm using, which is a Ferrops 1.4. It's been there since Fran, and the guy that I bought it from, who was a listener of the show, had it at his house for 4 years. So when was Fran? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Ancient. It's still working fine, knock on wood. I mean, it's fine.
Well, what I did, I got really creative and got some power UPSs that I got for free. They were very nice, 1 kVA power supplies. I went over to Batteries Plus, put all brand new batteries in them, brought them up, set them here, and out of 4 of them, 2 of them destroyed the brand new batteries, so I quit doing used UPSs.
Well, yeah, you should always put the batteries in one, try it, and don't just assume that it's working. That's true. And actually, here's something else that the guy was saying at APC when I was talking to him, and I told him he couldn't find the model number in their database. He says, we don't have such a thing. I said, that's exactly what it says on the back, and here's the serial number. He said, I don't see it. And the truth is that I went and searched by the model number on Google, and the only thing that came up with that model number was that actual guy on Craigslist that had it listed. That's the only thing that came up. But when I explained to the guy what it looks like and all that, and he saw it, he said, okay, I know what you're talking about. These are old. I said, is the problem? They said, no. I mean, you can buy them. They should last for years and years and years. We build them to do that. There's nothing wrong about getting an older UPS, as long as it's doing what it's supposed to do, and look at the voltage and see that it's giving you voltage. Everything is fine. And I looked inside to see if there were any bulging capacitors and all that, and there's nothing. Everything looks really, really clean and new inside. So I always got them used. That's it's just that, you get somewhere. Nick, how's your UPS doing?
It's good. I've yet to lose power for a long enough amount of time where the computers actually had to shut down. But
you did?
Every time that.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I have yet to.
Have
that. But we've had power flickers and interruptions for maybe 20, 30 seconds, and it's stayed up.
Yeah, that's good. And if the power stays long out too long, you guys have a generator, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
What size UPS are you using in your room over there, Mike?
No idea.
No idea.
It's probably 800, 1,000, something like that. It's pretty heavy.
But not for all the computers. One.
No, I've got 2 or 3 up here.
Okay.
I told you about the one I have. A friend of mine gave me one. He actually bought it at Office Depot. And for some reason, he bought the extended warranty on it. Which was 2 years. He paid like $40 for the extended warranty. And about a month before the warranty ran out, it died. I couldn't get it to do anything. And they refunded 100% of my money.
Nice.
I took that money, went back over there and bought the next size up. Same brand. It had worked okay.
Nice.
The UPS I have is pretty small.
Yours is 900 kVA, right?
No.
No, Nick's.
No,
900 VA.
it's 800.
I mean,
VA.
900 VA. I'm sorry, yeah.
It's 800.
What's the model number? I thought it was
RS. It's the RS 800.
Oh. Yeah, so that's probably about 600
540.
watts. Yeah. That's fine for one computer and router and
It's all it powers a computer and a monitor.
yeah.
No point of powering the router.
919-518-9773 Computers 2K voice on Skype. I guess this segment did not interest many people on the thing. I mean, who doesn't have a UPS? Is there somebody?
A lot of people do not have UPSs.
Well, and the need for them is declining with laptop computers because they have
Right.
a built-in UPS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I still would not have a UPS if I didn't get such a great deal on the one that I have. They're too expensive.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
What I hate about them is the early ones did not have the way to turn the beep off. So in the middle of the night, the power goes off and you got an alarm clock.
Yep.
I mean, Amnon, you've got a 900 watt cyber power power supply. It's $140. If you don't lose power, I could never just spend
Well,
$140.
let's put it this way. This is how I tell my customers.
Yeah, but you're a business, so what you're
No.
What you're about to say
No.
is probably-
This is what I recommend to my customers, home users or office users. You are buying insurance, and you hope that you'll never use it, and you pay dearly for it. If the power flickers while your computer is writing the FAT, like you're saving a file, and right as it's writing the FAT, the power flickers, you lost your hard drive. You lost the
100% of the
data.
time?
You lost the data on the hard drive.
100% of the time.
90% of the time, I would say, because I mean, if it happens right there, then it's 100% of the time, yeah. Because what it does is it rewrites the FAT. When you adding another file, it's like somebody is deleting the index from the book and rewriting the index in the book, in the front of the book or in the back of the book. And if the power flickers right there, when it's writing it, and you end up with a blank FAT, when it comes back, it's a blank FAT, and he doesn't know what to do with it. I've seen it many a times. And it's even worse. Well, it's not worse, but it's worse damage, and Mike may be able to shed light on this. If the power goes down slowly and you're losing, like with the UPS, that's why you should use the software in the UPS that will shut down the computer at a certain point. Because if it goes lower and lower and lower, it starts corrupting and corrupting, like if you're away from home. But we'll go back to the UPS. That's why you're buying it. It's not to be able to run your computer when the power goes away.
Of course
It's
not.
only to give you enough time to shut down the computer gracefully when the power goes out. That's all it's for.
Correct, but $140 is significant
This is
amount
a
of money.
one-time
That's
payment.
nothing.
You're paying. How much you pay for your car insurance?
He
How
doesn't
much?
use insurance. He
$150.
just decided not to have a wreck.
what?
Yeah, $150 a month.
What
He's
for?
not gonna-
But what for? You don't have accidents. Knock on wood.
Well, you're required to have it. So
Okay, that's because they figure they need to have it. Now think about how long it's going to take you to rebuild your computer, and maybe not you, to rebuild the hard drive, but a lot of people out there they don't have a backup. Maybe they have pictures.
Oh well,
they
then
have
okay, so they have a UPS and not a backup. I'd rather have a backup than a UPS.
I agree.
I'm not saying you do not buy a UPS.
You don't need to buy $140 thing. You can buy them the $350, the $450, which is enough. I mean, for home users, for one computer, that's all you need. And they go $29, $39 on sale. And you connect, and you don't even have to have your monitor on it. But today, with the LCDs, you can.
All right, so
when-
$100 for
No,
for
you
House
don't need to
Pet.
pay $100.
What if
$100
you've
is
got-
a good
what if
size.
you've got a beefy desktop?
The what?
What if you've got a beefy desktop?
It doesn't matter the desktop or not. It's the size of the power supply in there. If you have a gaming desktop that has 800-watt power supply, okay, yes, you need to get a better.
Yeah, but people that are doing broadcasting, they've got beefy
Now
power
wait a
supplies
second.
there.
We're not talking about broadcasting. We're talking about your normal home user that has a.
But your normal home user is not watching this show.
Even if they watch the show, they don't need. Well, you were going to say, Mike?
No, I'm listening.
Oh, they don't need to have anything big. You only have to support your computer. The fact that you have a small car with a small engine doesn't mean that you cannot drive across country. You don't have to have a big engine you need a big engine if you have a trailer that you're going to pull with a bunch of equipment in it. Yeah, you need a bigger engine. So you don't need a bigger UPS just because you have a desktop computer that you're trying, whatever you do on it, all it has is a 400-watt power supply, and you probably never use all of it.
Correct.
That's all you need as a UPS to support that power supply. And if you have if you install the software and the USB cable to shut it down gracefully when the power goes out after a while, you don't even need to have your monitor plugged into it, because you would say, well, I need my monitor because I need to be able to see how I'm shutting it down. No, you don't. You let their software shut it down. Shut it down, not just switch it off. Shut it down. Oh boy, what happened there? Interesting. We got a video error in Chrome again. That Chrome is not. Okay, let's see if we can do this like that. Sorry, guys. Terminated. Well, I can't get back to the guys. You're the first one here. Let me restart. I hate that Chrome. I don't know why Nick thinks that that's what I should use. Okay, now I don't have the... Okay, let's start that. Come on, Skype. The thing is that I guess it works better with Chrome. Or that's what Nick is saying. All right, let's see if I can connect now. Yeah, there they are.
Well, it's Amnon.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can.
Well,
All right. Chrome crashed.
no, it did not.
Well, it says because of video error.
Yeah, but how did Chrome crash, Amnon?
That's right. It did not crash because I could close it. So what was it?
You got disconnected from the Hangout server.
Yeah, Google WebRTC crashed.
I
Well,
don't think
the
anything
message
crashed.
that I had on the screen said the
Yeah, I read
video
it.
ended because of video error.
Yeah, video error.
Yeah.
There may have been a connection problem that you could have been on a different server and it booted you. You could
Okay,
have
well,
timed-
I'm blaming. I don't care. I'm blaming. And then I was trying to.
and you got
just-
everybody in chat now saying that Chrome is garbage because all it does is crash.
Well, that's true. No, he's right. It could have been that.
Now you got a Uber geek upset.
But I couldn't.
will
I
tell you
couldn't.
this.
But I couldn't
Right.
get back to you. I had to shut Chrome down, start again, and cut and paste the link, and then I got you. That's why it took long. Anyway, we're back.
Probably the most exciting part of the show today.
Oh yeah, I know.
Dan wants to know why it's junk, Nick.
Slow. I use it every day at work, and it is so freaking slow.
What, you talking about Chrome? Yeah, that's right.
No, Safari. Safari. Chrome is.
I'll tell you this: if you still use XP, you better not use Chrome.
No, there's no way. It's too intensive.
I'm still using XP on my computer there, and you know what happens lately with Chrome? I have to start it again. The first time you start it, it just spins and spins and spins. It's not finding anything. Shut it down, bring it up, bang. Everything is okay. But anyway. Now, IE is better lately. I mean, every now and
Oh
then.
God.
No, it is. It's not like it
No,
used
it's
to
not.
be.
I had to use IE for 5 minutes on a Friday, and I thought I was gonna blow my brains out. So unusable.
Why? It works fine for me.
Oh my God. It crashed 3 times when I launched it.
Yeah, you might want to get all the malware and porn.
No
off.
malware on the computer. It was a brand new TriCaster. No malware. And install an update, and I had to download Firefox on another machine and bring the exe over because I could not open up IE to download the update or to install Firefox. Could not do it.
Yeah, something wrong there because I used it all day yesterday when Chrome wouldn't work and didn't even burp.
I could not. Never. I might as well not even have a computer if you
Get a Mac.
have to use an IE.
Nah, it's okay.
You'll be all right.
Some things works for some people, some things don't work for some people, and some things work better for other people than they work for you. That's all. Anyway, I forgot where we were,
We
but
weren't.
it's okay.
Yep, we were done.
It's fine. I don't see anything especially going on in the chat that we need to talk about, so here's a good story. A Swedish father has come under fire for taking his 2 sons on a trip to Israel the West Bank, and occupied Syria in order to teach them the reality of war. Carl Magnus Hellegreen is a journalist, university teacher, and proactive dad. And like so many other dads, Helgegren had to have the violent video game conversation with his two sons, Frank and Leo, age 10 and 11, respectively. We were sitting at the dinner table last autumn, and my kids started telling me about the game they wanted to play, the latest Call of Duty game, and told me about the guns and missions. He told the local on Friday. So he struck a deal. The family would take a trip to a city impacted by real war. The boys would meet people affected, do interviews, and visit a refugee camp. And when they came back home, they would be free to play whatever games they chose. But he's under fire for doing that. I think it's fantastic in a way. I'm sure he didn't take him to a place where the bombs falling all day long, but to be in a place where there's a war going on and you see the devastation gives somebody a whole new look and perspective on something like this. Well, they didn't say it if the kids played or not, but it is, I think he was a genius. I think he is a genius for doing that. What do you guys think?
More power to him. And if his kids got killed, then it'd be on his.
He would have had to live with it. I mean, they went on vacation.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. More power to him. It's I don't know what everybody. I don't think you can criticize the guy. I mean, like I said, if kids were to get killed during it, then he's got to live with that. It's his own fault. Told you about the vacation, the hot zone.
Oh
vacation.
Yes, tell everybody about that.
There's a vacation. I don't know the name of it. I was watching a podcast and they were talking about it. And the vacation takes you around to different military hotspots in the world. And you go around there. You're technically considered media, but in the case of getting shot at or whatever, they hand you a gun and then now you're fighting against the enemy. Let's see if I can find it.
Uber Geek thinks he's an idiot. You have the right to think that. I mean, I grew up in a country that was, I was a kid through 2 wars. For all these years, when people in the South ask me why I don't own a gun, I said, because if I'll own one, I'll use it. And it's because you used to do that. Mike, you can Nick, you can interrupt me anytime. And
I'm still looking for it.
And I only changed my mind about that when somebody during a parade was asking me that, and I told him. And he said, and I always said, if you have a gun and you use it, and even though you are in the right, you're going to get in trouble. And he said, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. And that changed my outlook on things.
So, on a different subject.
Yeah.
Finish up on that if you choose to.
No, I mean, it's fine. Go ahead. No, I'm just rambling.
There is an event I think is still going on down in Dallas, a podcasting event called Podcast Movement. That is considered the premier podcasting event in all the world by the people who put it on. And if you look at the people who are represented there, I mean, I'm somewhat of a critic of the way these things are marketed. I'm all for the event, the way they're marketed, because It's kind of like the other award show. They go in and they vote to give themselves awards. And when you look to see who the award-winning podcast of the year is and the number one and the most listened to, they don't show up on a lot of other lists out there that may be important. One of the, I think, the best technical websites I frequent sometimes is called Ars Technica, ARSTECHNICA, arstechnica.com. Now, there's an article here. It says ARS editor's favorite podcast. And it's just their opinion. They probably have some esoteric things here. And I'm going to read some of these quickly because they may be, the references aren't, the article's not really well written. But there's one called Good Job Brain that I've never heard of. If you guys have heard any of these, let me know. Another one called Effectively Wild, which is about baseball. A third one called The Sam Makovic Show. Most people have heard of Mark Maron's WTF. That one's mentioned here. The Dangling Conversation, hosted by Jonathan Larroquette and Seth Ramatelli, is called Yeah Dudes, a comedy podcast that's been on since 2006. A podcast called Empty Fridays. One called My Brother and Me. The Overdue Podcast. Welcome to Night Vale. Of course, the NPR shows. The Bugle. Canadaland, Planet Money, The World in Words, Slate Political Gabfest, 99% Invisible, Decode DC. How many of these people are represented at either of these podcast events?
None of them probably.
Why? I mean, wouldn't you think that these guys at Ars Technica would at least have some credibility when reporting which podcast they like to listen to? I mean, I've only heard of one or two of those myself.
Yeah.
So it seems a little incestuous that we all get together and give ourselves awards, doesn't it?
Mike, I'm gonna challenge you here.
All right, I might mute you, but go ahead.
And I hope you do, and I want to see how your reaction is going to be on this. So you've been talking about the podcast bowel movement.
You said that, not me.
Yeah. You've been talking about this. You're not a fan of this. What would you call this? Convention? It's not really a convention.
That's true. What did I just say?
I don't know. What did you just say?
I just said I am all for the event. I think the podcasting community needs these sorts of things.
And I didn't say you said that, but you do not like this event. You don't know any of the people there.
That's not true.
Okay? How many people do you know that are there? 3 podcasters?
Probably 4.
Okay. So if why don't you do your own event? Why don't you have an event why don't you do an event the right way?
Because I don't have anything to offer. I'm not even a podcaster.
Okay, but you seem to, I think you'd be capable of putting on an actual event. Why don't you do something like that?
Why?
You just said it's great for the podcasting community. Why don't you put an event on like this?
Well, I give away tens of thousands of dollars worth of advice for free to the podcasting community. That ought to be worth something.
Yeah, but why couldn't you do an event like this? I mean, we've been telling Andrew to do one, and he's not.
Well, he can't stay sober long enough. But I mean, who's to say I will or won't? That's not the point. I think that, and I've said this, and I've said it here before. This one that's going on down there right now, the guys, whenever they were sitting around like this one day talking and decided to have one, they said, well, it's cost a lot of money. We need to do what is it? Which one did they do? I
don't think a GoFundMe. It's like a GoFundMe or something like that.
It's one of those. I forget which one they did.
There's a million of them.
And they exceeded their expectations. I thought that was a brilliant move because the podcasting community is extremely volatile. It's extremely high risk. People will say they're going to do things. They may or may not do things. It was a Kickstarter. There you go, Joe. And so I thought the idea of doing a Kickstarter to let people put money where their mouths are to get the initial expense covered. If I were to do one, Nick, I would do it the same way, so that when I walked in there day one, I don't have a dime invested in it, because
I think you should do one.
Well, why don't you do it? You're the expert. You do a podcast. I don't do a podcast. See, people, I know you won't believe this, but people actually challenge me. They say, Mike, why are you saying all these things when you don't even do a podcast? Who are you to say? And I'd say, I'd suggest anything I say that you just disregard it completely and throw it out. Don't pay any attention to what I say.
So who actually started this event?
I think there were 3 or 4 guys. One of them is a guy that does a softball thing. I can't think of his name. He's been around a long time. He's a good guy. Can't think of his name.
I think you should do one.
No, well, there are already 2 now. There's one, NMX, used to be called Blog World. It is now called NMX, and they have now, it's piggybacking on NAB in Las Vegas in April. So they're going to be held either concurrently or at just before or just after. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that NMX thing, I think we both know that there's problems with that.
Well, but what is the problem? The problem is that it's primarily bloggers and not necessarily podcasters.
Well, the problem is some of the people that have to deal with that event. Somebody that was in a broadcasting group that was a total.
Right.
I think you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. But go look at the podcast movement and see if you don't see the same list.
It is the same list.
Now, I'm not, and this is what people don't take time to understand. And listen, I don't know who Jared Easley is, but Dan Franks apparently started the Kickstarter for the podcast movement. But I can't, the guy, his name, dadgummit, he does a softball thing, and everyone who's mentioned his name to me has done so positively. So,
I'm not saying that event is bad. But there are inherent problems with the event. I can look at the list. I know like 2 people from the whole event. Who are these other excellent speakers? Nobody knows who they are.
Well, but the point is, and let's get to the bottom line on this, because probably somebody from there is going to be listening and say, Mike, you're not telling the whole story. My problem with the whole thing, and Andrew nailed it, and my problem with the whole thing is that it shifts from the core topic of how to build and grow your podcast over to how you get rich, how you can be successful. It's a success coach. It's this, all you have to do is believe and you will be, all this stuff. I'm all for positive thinking. I'm not against any of that, because if you dwell on the negative all the time, it's going to be impossible for you to succeed. But is that the right forum for this crap? I mean, this guy who set up a table down, he rented a room. He said, I'm going to let 10 people come in and be near me for $1,000 each.
That's the problem. Exactly. That's the problem with the event.
And people, and I'll guarantee you there were 10 people sitting around the table, but I won't guarantee you that all 10 of them paid $1,000 each. I mean, there's just so much nonsense going on here. Let's say, for example, let's go back to where my criticism started. And you guys in chat, if you disagree with me, that's fine. If you want to call in and take me to task, I wish you would do it, because I am very much misunderstood about my attitude. I think the event is a fabulous idea. The guys who put it on, I hope they walk away with it with some money in their pockets, because what they've done, I think, is right. What I disagree with is how my opinion, and this is not an informed opinion, but in my opinion, what they did is they let the show get away from them. They let these success coaches come in and take over, and how we're going to make money doing this and doing that. And I mean, I won't go into that. But so anyway, I hope they do well with it, but I hope that they would get better control. But I'm trying to think of, I know what it was. Do you remember when they used to have events called PodCamp?
Yes, they did. Stephen Haywood did PodCamp Pittsburgh like 2 or 3 years in a row.
Right. And how did that work out?
I was before my time with podcasting. I knew it existed.
But you're an expert.
It was like I don't have no clue. It was like 2006. I was not podcasting.
All right. What I heard was, I've never been to one. But what I heard, what does the name PodCamp suggest to you?
That it's, I think of it as podcasters talking about their podcast.
10% content was podcasting.
Do you know that for a fact?
No, this is
Oh.
reported from people who've been there. I've never been to one.
If you go on, let me look at this quick. Stephen Haywood has his PodCamp Pittsburgh thing, I believe, on YouTube. If I can find it. But I mean, it's a success coach. That's what it is.
But now let me ask you this, Nick, because this is, again, I'm trying to, for anyone who cares, trying to explain my criticism of the way this event is conducted. Let's suppose, Nick, that there is still a PodCamp each year in Nashville, and it may or may not have increased its podcasting content. It was almost all bloggers was the complaint that I got. Let's suppose, Nick, that you get in your car, you drive to Nashville, put yourself up in a hotel, pay to attend the event.
Yep.
And you go there and you walk in and say, man, I'm going to learn a lot. I really want to rise to the next level. I want to go from good to great. And you find out, according to what Joe says, Joe's one of my new buddies. Joe's really into this stuff. He said Podcast Nashville had 0 podcasting sessions in 2013 and 3 in 2014. So let's suppose you had gone there in either year, Nick, paid all that money, you got there, and there was nothing about podcasting. How would you feel about the event?
I don't think I would be pretty PO'd.
Right, because there was a little misrepresentation there.
Yeah. Now I don't know what, Joe, and what you define about podcasting being. But for example, Steven's interview is on YouTube, and it's from November 30th of 2010, and he did his about building a brand in social media. Now, I don't think that's about podcasting, but it's a very important part, and I think possibly the most important part of building an audience when it comes to podcasting. So
totally agree.
It doesn't necessarily. I don't think I need somebody to stand up there and say, "Well, I use a mixer to do my podcast," but there's a bunch of different things that go into that. For example, I've done stuff with social media with On the Radar, and I think I've gained like 60 Twitter followers from it.
Right. No, I totally agree. I mean, and
that's an important part.
It's an entire package, and I believe you have to cover the package. Now, I will tell you that quite a few people are interested in audio. I was online with a guy last night for an hour and a half solving an audio problem. So I know that people are interested in audio, which is my forte. But at the same time, that goes beyond just audio in terms of how can I get a decent presentation without going broke. You don't need to buy a Behringer X32 mixer to be able to do a podcast. If you want one, get it. But if do you need one? No, because even with, for example, when we were doing Rick's show, Rick calls into my studio and he's using a $35 microphone and a laptop computer. End of story.
That's the problem with this PodCamp event, though. It's all the people that I have no. Great. I'm gonna call people out here. You've got Ravenscraft here, who I'm sure during his keynote stood up and sold people the Heil PR40 and his $1,000 mixer package. That's the problem with these events. Nobody is going to stand up and say you don't need to spend $600 to do your podcast, because that you don't have to. 2100 and Audacity. There you go. And PodSafe Music. You can do your podcast. $35.
So
nobody's gonna but people won't say that. We have to be afraid.
I don't know that it's people won't say that. I think a lot of people think we came to this event and here's a guy standing up there saying that's what we need to do. Then that's what we need to do. It's because they assume that that's what it is and they don't have anybody else to go to.
Well, the problem, but people are afraid to say that.
Yeah, well,
this guy, nobody's going to stand up at this convention and say that. No way.
A lot of the people attending do not do podcasts. I'm planning to do it. It's preview.
Exactly.
It's coming out in 6 months, or we're in the formulative stages right now, and that sort of thing. And that's fine. Look, when I used to go to NAB in Las Vegas every year. Never missed it when I was in the radio business. Absolutely. And but sometimes I would go and never attend a session because we went for the social aspect of it. that's fine. Go for it. I think that that's probably the single best value for this event down in Dallas that's going on right now. If, like, Nick and I have never met in person.
Nope.
Andrew and I have never met in person. I would consider these guys friends. If Nick got into trouble, and I'm not just saying this, but if Nick got into trouble and there's some way I could help him, I would go get in the car right now and drive to where he is, which is probably a 10-hour drive, to help him out. I consider him that good of a friend, and I'm confident to say I think it's mutual. I wouldn't drive to where Eiffel is, but that being said, same for Andrew. I mean, we talk to each other almost every single day, and sometimes for very long periods of time, because we have a lot of the same interests. We are challenged by a lot of the same things, and it's a new way of doing business. Old people like Amnon and me who don't embrace the internet and the social aspect of it are missing an awful lot. Granted, they're probably reading more and doing other things that they enjoy doing. That's fine, but there's just such a new dimension to life that, in my opinion, they're missing.
There is a much bigger and more important aspect to going and socializing.
Yep.
It's
we've
very
never met Bruce.
Do what?
We've never met Bruce.
Right. No, but it's very easy to talk bad about somebody, to make somebody, to argue with somebody to the point where I'm going to crush you. And we used to call it in the BBS days, flaming. That kind of talk.
Let me ask you,
Once you meet a person, it takes a whole different, there's a whole different picture in your head. Now it's a person. You're very unlikely to talk to or about a person in a negative way after you meet them.
Oh, I agree. Of course, some of these people you meet and then it confirms your belief.
Well, that's true too. Yeah. But at that point, you also understand, I'm not going to waste time on that person. So there is, I mean, if there was an event locally, I would jump on it.
Right, but this is the point now, and be very, very honest with me, Amnon.
Yeah.
Do you think I'm dogging on these guys?
No. I think you are talking too much and mentioning it too much.
I didn't bring it up.
I know, but when you do talk about it, like in the Hangouts and stuff, I mean, I keep hearing the Cliff's name coming up again and again. I'm saying, why? Why are we giving him so much airtime? Why?
I think it's a very interesting topic.
It's fine. It's fine to talk about it every now and then.
If you like.
But it's really, Mike wanted to be honest, and I'm saying that I hear it coming out of Mike's about Cliff again and again and again and again. And obviously Mike is very passionate about it. Mike feels for these people that are blowing their money on advice from this guy and not doing, and he knows that at the end of the line they will arrive at a point where they say, why did I do this? I could have done it with just this. And Mike feels for them. And I feel for them. And that's why he's like that.
I can't believe this.
What happened now?
See, I'm going to say this and then I'll answer your question. My frustration with this event is I feel like it could be so much more if the sponsors would control the content better. If they would push it into the... Look, you know what kind of questions, Nick, that you get about podcasting. Amnon, when people ask you the questions, you know what the questions are. We get the same questions over and over and over again. These are the topics that should be covered en masse with groups.
But it's not.
It's not. They want to talk more about how you can be a success coach and how you can have positive thinking and blah, blah, blah. I just went to I'm not going to tell you the page, but I just went to this Podcast Movement's website because I'm trying to figure out that guy's name who does the softball thing. I can't remember it. and I'm looking at a page here where it talks about, I don't know if these guys are speakers or they're given credit for the article. One of the guys given credit here is a guy who's been hitting me up privately, asking me some of the dumbest questions about podcasting. Now he's an expert in presenting at least content at the Podcast Movement event. Now, there's something wrong with that. There's another guy here. If I called his name, most of the people here would know it. And this guy hits me up privately, asks me a bunch of audio questions, and he'll go record a video or start posting things exactly what I just told him, and no mention of me. So this guy's an expert?
Well, some people are like that.
Here's another article. Top podcasters share 3 success secrets.
Oh, yes.
For podcasting.
Oh, yes.
Secrets. Secret number one, audio. Great audio is an essential element, and audio is not important, an essential element in creating a successful podcast. During my time in Cliff's mastermind group, I learned a little bit about his secret sauce, along with several other little secrets that made a huge difference in sound quality. Whether you're using an iPhone with Boss Jock, an Audio-Technica 2100, or the Heil PR40 with a Mackie mixer and all the high-end gear, that's cheap stuff money can buy, you don't want to miss this session. Face it, you may be the sexiest rock star who ever lived, but if your audio quality stinks, so will you. I mean, again, this I just have to shake my head. This business about this secret sauce that Cliff talks about is nothing but a multiband audio compressor that he applies to his audio in Adobe Audition. Donovan knows the same secret sauce. There is no secret sauce. It's just certain settings that he likes the sound of it, and it's what we call adding boom and sizzle. It's an effect that's built into Audition. There's no secret there. Branding. The secret to branding is get your prospects to see you as their first and best choice. Podcasting is a powerful way to highlight.
What does that even mean? Hold on. What does that mean to you? How are you their first choice? What does that mean?
Best choice. I don't know. I don't know what that sentence means.
How could you be somebody's best choice if you're not doing a podcast? It doesn't make any sense.
Podcasting is a powerful way to highlight proven solutions for your prospects and clients so that they see and hear you as the expert. And Nick's the expert. I mean, this is a joke.
That's where it is. Prospects and clients. It's all about selling your other stuff. That's what these guys do. And that's what they're teaching you to do.
Here you go, Amnon. You talk about bringing up Cliff. You ready?
Yeah.
Next sentence here. When you think of podcasting, you probably think of Podcast Answer Man.
No, I don't.
Well, it says you do.
No, well, not me.
Yeah, but that means you're not. That means you're not using the podcast secret.
You don't know the secret. So you
don't.
Go to
That's right.
You go to that list on Ars Technica, and
I don't see him.
I didn't see him there. If you go to the iTunes 100, not the iTunes Tech 100, the iTunes 100, is he listed there? I don't know. He wasn't when I looked a year ago. And now when it says when you think of Chris Brogan, you think of a New York Times best-selling author of books like The Freak Shall Inherit the Earth. I had no idea the guy had ever written a book. Whenever you think of Mike Stelzner, you think of the Social Media Examiner. Now, I looked at the Social Media Examiner for the first time yesterday.
Are you reading this or are you saying this?
No, this is the part I'm saying now.
Okay.
I looked at it yesterday, and I think this guy is on to it. I mean, he's built a large following. He's got a lot of content there. I didn't spend enough time looking at it to have any opinion on the credibility of his information. But if you're into podcasting, I would suggest that maybe, and I'll reserve my opinion of it, but you need to probably take a look at Social Media Examiner, see if there's anything there that's useful. I don't know. But there are a lot of people who have flocked to this Social Media Examiner site. He has a lot of number of Twitter followers. I assume that they're real. Friends on Google Plus. So anyway, give credit where it's due. Each of our experts knows a thing or two about building a brilliant brand, and in this session they will share the secret for creating a successful podcast to do just that. So that's secret number 2.
Mike, that's a selling thing. If people didn't say that, why would you go there if everything is available somewhere else? It has to be a secret that you can only learn there.
All right. Secret. I'm going to comment on the secret after I read the third one. The success secret number 3, communication. Every great communicator knows that effective communication means crafting your message with a crystal clear focus. The bad news is at least half of the podcasters we've heard don't have a clear objective for their podcast, and even fewer podcasters achieve clarity in each and every episode. What does that mean? The good news is Chris, Cliff, and Mike will share their secret for creating a successful podcast based on clear communication that leaves your audience touched, moved, and inspired to take action.
Well, see, the best part there is neither of them probably have any audience, so that's pretty hard. But no, that's where the problem stems from, and that's when I initially brought up my point, Mike. Not joking, semi-serious, that you should host an event like this. There's the problem right there. You let these guys come in, and now your event is secret sauce, $1,000 mixer microphone kits. It's a bunch of BS.
Well, Joe says that he took Cliff's course. What'd you pay for it, Joe? By the way, if you don't mind us asking, we are all friends here. He took Cliff's course, thought it was well worth it at the time, learned afterward that I could have done it for much, much, much less.
That's what I said.
Can you say PR40 versus Samson Q2U or ATR 2100? Now, having said that, I do think that there are two types of people who should probably pay one of these guys for a course. Now, I'm not going to say Cliff's is any better or any worse than anyone else's. I haven't taken it. He's got a bunch of stuff for free that's probably worth listening to on his website. I guess he still has it.
He does. He does, in fact, still have the free content.
Okay, so I recommend that to you if you can listen to the boom and sizzle long enough, the really raspy sound of his audio. But having said that, there are actually two groups that probably should pay one of these guys. I'm sure there are plenty of these guys out there that you can pay to teach you. One is that if you're in a corporate environment and you're not spending your own money, the prices they charge are small compared to what most government and corporations pay for courses, so that's not a big deal. And the other is, if you're just that lazy that you don't want to go out and do your homework, and you got more money than you have time, then maybe you should pay them. They will give you, from what I would expect, again, I've never paid for it, I would expect that if they would probably give you some sort of organization. However, the mere premise of this page, 3 secrets of podcasting. Podcasting 101 by anyone is going to give you all of this same information for free. There are no secrets here. These are techniques. They are well-known, well-established techniques. And if you listen to this, if this information, and you guys in chat are agreed to disagree with me when I say this, but if you go to this event and any of this information is new or helpful, you haven't done your homework, and you shouldn't be spending money traveling to a convention of podcasters.
Well, again,
there you go.
And
Unless you
now
just want to-
you know. And
I
now
love
you,
Dallas.
what?
I love Dallas. I thought about going. I've had 10 people ask me, "Are you going? You going? Are you speaking?" Nope, not going, not speaking.
Did they? Oh, now, Mike. Honestly, did any of them ever say anything to you about speaking?
Yes. No. Not the people who are putting it on.
Oh, yeah, no, that's
No,
what I meant. You were not asked.
Oh no. I haven't, and I have had no contact with anyone in as far as anyone officially involved with the event. I don't know any of them.
I find it interesting that Andrew was not asked to speak at all.
Mike will not make any money from going there. He would give
It's not-
all
but
the
it-
advice.
I
Wait a
didn't-
second. Mike will not make any money from going there, so they will not ask him.
Well, is that true?
I would think so.
Mike would. Amnon, you're saying that Mike going would not make them any money?
No.
or Mike
Will
himself
not
would
make
any
Mike any money, because Mike is doing it anyway for anybody and everybody out there that asks him. So they will not ask him because he is the person that stands between them and people having to go to something like this to learn. He's one of those people.
Yeah, but in that
is-
case, then now they've got a guy speaking who's not trying to sell his services.
Right. But they probably don't like him because he gives the advice all year long for nothing.
No, it's not that. This one I know. It's not that they don't like me. They don't know me.
Well, okay, let's say they don't know you.
They wouldn't like me.
They heard about you
I doubt it.
Anybody and everybody who is anything in podcasts and on the internet broadcasting today knows who Mike Phillips
No,
is.
that's not true.
Amnon,
That is not true.
The what?
That's not true.
I
Adam
don't
Carolla
know.
knows who. Do you think Adam Carolla knows who Mike Phillips is?
I do.
I
Adam
think
Carolla knows
he
you.
knows
Yes.
his name and he knows what Mike does. And anybody wants to know what Mike has to give. Anybody who sees it says, "Oh, I can learn from this guy something. Let me go watch his video. Let me go watch his interview." I mean, a lot of
think
people
you've gotta
know. Let's
redefine your
put it this way.
group.
Maybe I said everybody. Okay, not everybody, but a lot of people out there who are in internet broadcasting know the name Mike Phillips.
I would say, Amnon, your statement would be correct if you said casual. There's a lot of this enterprise podcasting stuff where I just honestly do not think they know Mike Phillips.
I love that term, Nick. You just hit a nail on the head.
What?
Oh, you just nailed it, Nick.
What did I do?
Absolutely. When you threw the word enterprise podcasting,
Yeah.
there are two worlds out there.
There's the
Enterprising and what would the other be?
This one was casual or hobbyist, whatever.
No, because some of these guys, Andrew is not enterprise.
Yeah, Andrew started as a casual podcaster and now has turned it into a small business. But
But he's not enterprise.
I think he's still casual. He's not.
Well, but
Who
is it
is-
casual?
Okay,
I think
so
his shows are very casual. I don't think he doesn't.
Hold on on that word enterprise. We got to come up with an alternative word for that. We'll
what
think about
is?
it.
What do you mean by enterprise?
That's what I'm going to tell you. If you look at, for example, NPR, that's enterprise.
Okay.
Adam Carolla is enterprise.
I'd say Twit is
is enterprise.
just over the border of enterprise.
I absolutely agree with you 100%. When you get down into the John Lee Dumases and the Cliff Ravenscrafts and all, these are not enterprise podcasters. And my cynicism is towards the we're not enterprise. I mean, Nick's not enterprise. Donovan's not. Dan's not going to be. I mean, they're not sponsored by major corporations or major entities that their primary business. I mean, I would say Andrew's just under the line and Twit is just over the line, and you got to get in it to make the progress. But having said that, it sort of is amusing to see the non-enterprise podcasters getting together and giving themselves awards, because the real leaders are, by sheer volume, the enterprise podcasters, and they're not even a part of these events.
Well,
It's interesting.
That's home run there, Nick. I like that. You'll be hearing that again.
I'm glad I could help.
okay.
You're
So if I change and I make Nissan Communication 1701, does that make me enterprise?
No.
Okay.
I can't tell if you're not being serious, Amnon, are you?
No.
Okay. You said that in a very serious way, and I got
Do you know what
concerned.
1701 is?
Yes, it's enterprise.
Well, Donovan says this is interesting. Donovan says he's striving to be a professional podcaster.
No, that's different. That's different than this category. Professional. When I originally said that, like enterprise is the Adam Carollas, the Leo Laportes, all these Podcast One people that have got these big elaborate studios and car companies are sponsoring. The Geek Beat, I would consider them.
What's the girl down in Texas? What's her name?
That's Callie Lewis. They're
Callie
just
Lewis.
they're very similar to Twit, and they're in the enterprise line. They've got.
Do you think so? You think they're on the enterprise level?
I do. They've had their launch. They've got major companies sponsoring their stuff, professional, not Audible and Squarespace and this other stuff.
GoDaddy.
Yeah, real companies. Not that those guys are not real companies, and I'm not dogging on other. I'm just as good as every other podcaster, or just as worse actually would be the best thing. But the enterprise, you have your enterprise people, and then you have your casual people, and then you've got another subcategory of that's not even in the same thing, and then you've got your people that are just doing it for fun, and then you've got your people that like Donovan, that are trying to do it as a more professional thing, possibly a business, and then you've got your successful business people.
I see, Donovan says, I see three categories: hobby, professional, and enterprise. Now, I've got some questions here. Well, actually, one question. I agree with hobby and enterprise. I love that. Let's talk about this word professional. What does the word professional mean?
I have no clue.
Well, then how can we use the word effectively if we don't know what it means?
I mean, well, if Mike, if you were to say to me, X person is a professional podcaster, like, you know what? Out of that, I'd say Andrew is a professional podcaster. He is not on the enterprise. I don't think Andrew would mind me saying this. He is not on the enterprise line where he's got a 20,000 square foot studio and he's doing 100 shows a week. But he is on that professional line. He is not casual. He's not hobbyist. He's got companies paying him. He's got people like Paul Thurrott on his network. He's possibly, if you were to use that word, he would be under the professional category.
Well, Donovan, I'm going to come back to your comment in a minute, but what I would suggest is, and yes, I have a vested interest in this comment, but I am a professional in that I'm an attorney. Okay, to have the right to call myself a professional, I had to have a 4-year college education, a degree from an ABA accredited law school, and I had to pass a professional examination called a bar exam to become a professional. Those are my credentials for being a professional. What are the credentials for being a professional podcaster?
I think it's got to do with money.
No. It has to do with having a high PR40 and $1,000 mixer.
I think it's got, and by money, I don't mean the amount of money you're making, but if you've got companies interested in what you're doing, besides the GoDaddies, because think about it, Mike, like you can't be a casual attorney. You're either an attorney or you're not an attorney. It's on or off. You're not. I'm a casual attorney. I casually practice being an attorney. You can't. You have to go to school. You have to pass the exam, the bar exam. You have to do that.
Right.
So I don't think your analogy you made works with podcasting, because this can be. This is my point.
What about? Let's talk about doctors. Same thing.
Same thing. Yeah. You're either a doctor or you're not a doctor.
All right. And so Mike says.
Mike, wait a second. Nick. What about becoming a weatherman?
Great question. And
that is not an on-off.
That is a perfect question. What does it take to become a professional weatherman?
A meteorologist.
Wrong. Absolutely. Well, no.
No. I misask. A meteorologist.
Are you talking a meteorologist with a degree? Look at Kirk Harnack. He does not have a degree in weather. He's a weekend meteorologist for a Fox affiliate in Nashville? Yeah. In Nashville. He does not have a weather degree.
Okay. Every head weatherman on every station is a meteorologist.
False.
Not true.
Not true. The two of the meteorologists in this market have
everybody here shows that they are, what do you call that? Meteorology.
AMS certified does not mean you have a degree.
Oh, so what does it take to be certified?
What do you mean?
As a weather person.
There is no certification.
How do you become a meteorologist?
You'd have to go to school to be a technical meteorologist. You'd have to go to somewhere like OU or the school of.
There's a degree.
Yeah, there's a meteorology degree. OU is in Oklahoma, and that's where the meteorology degree is. But meteorology doesn't require a degree.
So if a meteorologist considers himself or herself a professional, they're going to show you a certificate of some sort of credentialing to establish that claim.
Yeah, that would be the AMS, American Meteorology Society.
All right. Now let's go back to a comment that UberGeek made that a professional soldier. All right. What's a professional soldier?
What's a soldier?
Well, just being a soldier doesn't make you a professional. I would argue.
I'll tell you what a professional soldier is. One who chose to stay there as a career.
Well, at what point, though? I'm going to challenge.
Go ahead.
I'm going to challenge that, because what people are going to say is, and Jeff Bundy actually asks a fabulous
Yep, that's
question.
good.
It's a fabulous question. What about a professional musician? Because how do you become a professional musician? You can go to Juilliard. You can get a degree in musicianship. You can play a lot, and you can get paid to do it. How you define someone as being a professional, that's an interesting point. I don't agree with Dr. John that a professional is one who gets paid, because let's say, for example, that Nick decides he wants to be a lawyer and decides not to go to college. So he learns how to draft wills and gets them from LegalZoom and fills them out and sells them to people and gets paid for doing it. That doesn't make him a professional.
Yeah, and same thing with podcasting. I have made money podcasting. I would not consider myself even close to being a professional. It's more than the money.
Well, I'm still struggling, and Dr. John says the licensing thing. I do think licensing is a critical element in that how we define the professions, and he then says semantics, and that part, again, I got a vested interest in it. I do not necessarily agree, because even when you go out to buy, and certainly Tim Barber knows this, whenever you go out to buy insurance, there's professional insurance versus non-profession insurance. Whenever you start up a corporation in North Carolina, one of the choices that you have to make is whether you are a professional corporation. There is a legal distinction among types of corporations, and you don't have a choice. You have to pick the right one, and to be able to have a professional corporation, you have to meet certain legal criteria. A lot of people go out. You can't just randomly call yourself a lawyer. You cannot randomly call yourself a doctor. But those are professions. You cannot just call yourself an architect without an architectural degree and licensure. However, there are certain things that, like professional musician, there's not a licensure
mechanic
there. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mechanic.
A mechanic. What's a professional mechanic?
Right.
We would argue that there are great mechanics, but what's a professional mechanic?
Can't you go to school? Can't you go to school to become a mechanic?
You can go to a NASCAR school and become a mechanic. It costs you $65,000 a year to go for 2 years. Does that make you a professional? I don't know.
I don't think it does, but
I
mean, you can go to school with that.
Same thing with most good mechanics did not go to school.
I agree. And most studio musicians never went to school for. But are they really? Now we are getting into semantics and some of these things. But here's my point. Let's get it back on target. And my question is this: what makes a professional podcaster?
I think it's got to do with. I think it's got to do with the advertisers.
Well, I'm not so sure that there are any professional podcasters.
You know, so if you go back to this enterprise or casual, whatever other word you like to use, where would you classify Andrew?
I don't know yet. I'm going to be thinking about that.
Because I do think that there needs to be that third group, because Andrew is a more, I'm not using this in the thing, Andrew is a more professional podcaster than I am. Then Andrew is doing more professional stuff than what we're doing right now on Computers 2K now.
Yeah, we're looking for some MBA word that goes in there that tantamounts to being professional, but does not violate the legal definition.
Because there is that Jupiter Broadcasting as well. They are in that above casual, I believe slightly below enterprise category. And there needs to be
Dr. John, I'd like to ask you what you would suggest for this middle class of podcaster. We've got hobby and enterprise on the bottom and top. What would you suggest is in the middle? Do you think using the word professional is appropriate for podcasters in between hobby and enterprise? I'd be interested in your opinion. I'm assuming Dr. John means you have a PhD.
He said that there's a difference between professional and acting professionally.
That's true.
With that. I think I act pretty professionally on my show. but I wouldn't classify myself a professional.
No PhD. Okay.
I've got 2 PhDs, Dr. John. You can have one of them.
Yeah,
I think
Joe
they're
DeMac
out in the
telling you
shed.
about. Expert. What's an all right? Now this is interesting. Oh, this is a fascinating question.
Yeah, I'm not thinking expert though.
What makes an expert, Rob? What's the definition of expert? Now, I was just on a show this week. I called into a show. The whole premise of the show is what is an expert? And these guys were saying, oh, we've got an audio expert here. Boy, he's an expert. He's an expert. Mike, tell us what you mean. What's an expert?
Mike,
And,
you are an expert.
What's an expert?
An expert is somebody that knows the things that to most people, it's somebody who knows their stuff better than you do, that you can go to and they can show you, teach you, advise you on how to do your thing, so you don't have to go through weeks and months or hours or big expense or whatever to get to the point where they can get you.
See,
That's an expert.
See, now if you were to throw expert in there, and so if you went casual or hobbyist, expert, professional, I would think I could probably classify myself as an expert in gaming, right? No. Let's get into this.
No. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at what Tim Barber said.
No, that's an old saying. He's actually right. And that's one thing that I mentioned in the show. They said, Mike, you probably don't claim to be an expert, but aren't you really? And I said, well, remember, an expert is nothing but a businessman a long way from home, and I'm still at home.
I think I do honestly not think that you could use the word expert, because I think I'm an expert, or I could be considered an expert when it comes to gaming. So now am I considered an expert podcaster?
What Donovan says it's another part of it. It's not the whole thing, but it's a part of it.
Yeah, see, now I do not think that fits podcasting, because anybody that's doing a podcast, if anybody that's doing a podcast about something they know about, would be considered an expert.
Nick.
In that field.
Nick.
Yes.
Nick, if you are an expert on gaming,
yes,
and you can answer other people's questions about gaming,
yes,
and what they should do and what they shouldn't do and how they should play this or what hardware they can get and all that, then you are an expert in that. You're definitely an expert as far as I'm concerned, because I know nothing about gaming. So wait a second. Hold it there.
Okay.
So you are an expert in gaming. When you start and you do a podcast, now you are hosting and you're doing your own podcast about gaming, being an expert gamer. Does that make you an expert podcaster? No. But it makes you an expert gamer who is hosting a show about gaming, and that's what he's an expert on.
Okay, so then I propose this question to you. How would I go from, if I'm an expert gamer doing a casual or hobbyist podcast, how do I become an expert podcaster?
You keep at it, you don't miss any, you don't you keep you work at it, and not every, I mean, you're saying Andrew is a professional or an expert podcaster or so on. That is not. Hey, Leo, is Leo an expert podcaster? In your opinion?
I don't know how. I still do not know how to define expert.
Is he an enterprise?
Yes, he is an enterprise.
Okay. Do you think that Leo could be where he is today if he was all by himself? No.
Who knows?
Do you think Andrew would be where he is today if he was all by himself? No. Who's handling many of Andrew's advertising and talking with people about advertising?
Jessica.
You see that now it takes an organization.
It takes a village.
Yeah, it takes a village. Exactly.
I like that point though. Maybe so. Yeah, but I don't know. So do you not consider somebody an expert or professional?
Now, I don't want you.
I have a team of people working for them.
First of all, I want to make one thing straight. I'm not taking away from what Andrew does, what Leo does.
That's not what we're talking about.
Right,
here.
I understand, but I want you to understand. But to become, if you think that a professional or an expert or whatever is being judged by how many people go there, how many views they have, how many advertisers they have. That's got nothing to do with that.
Here's my
I do
question.
not consider myself a professional / expert / whatever podcaster.
All right, but let me ask you
We
this,
had
Emma.
many people coming here. What? So? That doesn't change anything. I mean, you can take a beautiful girl, put her there half naked to do a podcast, and there will be thousands of people coming there. Does that make her a professional podcaster if she's talking about whatever she's talking about? No.
So, but see, what you're saying, I agree with, but then
There it goes again. All right, here. I'll refresh like Tim said earlier. Oh, it worked. Wow, Tim, you were right. What do you know?
different network.
Came back.
Yeah, Tim said earlier. He said you should just click retry or reload. That's what I did this time.
Yeah. So, Amnon, I agree
Yeah.
with what you're saying. Making money, having an audience does not take you from casual to expert or professional. But when you classify somebody that's enterprise, that's making money, has a team of people working for them,
Right.
has some type of studio,
Right.
how does that correlation work? How can if a casual person has a team of people not a team, it has two people doing stuff for their podcast,
Right.
and they're making some money, are they considered a enterprise now? I don't think so, but that's that's how
I
the
don't
enterprise.
know. I'm not pretending to know how to classify these. But if you have, I mean, do you agree that each and every of the anchormen, let's say on the networks, is a professional anchorman, whatever, call it whatever it is?
Yeah, I guess so. Yes.
Do you think that if these people had a podcast on the internet that they do by themselves, they say, okay, you know what, at 10 o'clock I come on and we talk about the news. Do you think a lot of people will go there? Not necessarily. Because it's no longer Fox or CBS or whatever. Now it's the person. That's the difference here. It's the same person. He will talk the same talk that he does on 6 o'clock news. He will do at 10 o'clock on his podcast. But not as many people will be there.
But he's a professional in that field.
I understand.
He's a professional.
I
anchorman.
understand. But by the way that we're talking here now, as far as how do we classify these, he will not be considered as enterprise because he doesn't have advertisers. He doesn't have a lot of viewers. He doesn't have
Exactly.
So that's what I'm just trying to make a point here of about the stuff that we were talking about. I don't, and again, I'll tell you, Nick, I don't know how to classify this.
Go ahead,
Mike is asking a good question when he is asking Dr. John or whatever, how do we classify that middle? I don't know. Do I care? I don't even care. Is that going to change the way I'm doing things? Heck no.
No, it's not
Is
going
it
to change the
gonna
way you're
change-
doing things. But I think there's a big problem with in the whole podcasting thing. That it's just a bunch of people giving themselves titles. Oh, I'm a professional. I'm this. I'm that.
No,
Mike.
it's if you believe that you're helping people and you're giving them an honest advice about what they're asking and you're giving them enough for them to come and watch you, that's all you should care about at this point. Sure, it will be nice to get advertisers that will pay you a lot of money and all that, and I could quit doing what I'm doing and just do this. Sure, but that's not what I'm doing this. That's not what most of us don't do this for. Some of us do. Or try anyway. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
All right. I think the title, I think what I'm having a problem with here is the title expert, in my opinion, is bestowed upon you by your peers. To hold yourself out as an expert, I think, is a little presumptuous. And people say, Mike, you're an expert. Yeah, I appreciate that. I do know audio. I'm good at it, most of it. Some things I don't know anything about in audio. Life is too complex to know everything. But for me to go out and saying, okay, I'm the expert. I mean, we even tease Nick about, well, it's not teasing. He really is an expert at everything. But
yeah, see, I have no problem saying that either. I'm an expert at everything.
We say he's an expert. I mean, that's I hate to tell him this, a little tongue in cheek.
What?
But anyway, so I think it's kind of an honorary title that's bestowed upon you. Calling yourself a professional, I think, is different. I think that professional means that you have a profession. What is the barrier of entry into that profession? Now, I might be able to agree and concede that the barrier of entry to becoming a professional podcaster is very low. You must have paid some consultant at least $1,000 to become a professional. If that's the standard for becoming a professional that the industry agrees to, then who am I to argue?
Yeah.
I just think, here's my point. If Andrew is a professional podcaster,
okay,
and a major company, let's say Sirius or NBC or somebody walks in and says, Andrew, we're going to buy the GFQ network. We're going to pay you $50 million for it. He says, dude, you just bought a network. And they said, no, you're part of it. You have to continue to do the shows. Okay, no problem. Andrew has just become an enterprise podcaster.
Correct.
Day one, the moment the ink is on the paper, he is a professional podcaster because they're...
Wait, he's a professional or an enterprise?
I'm sorry, enterprise, you're right.
Okay.
Because I'm not conceding the title professional yet to anyone. It may be. I may next week say, you're right, that's what it is. But what I'm saying is there is a clear demarcation that at that moment in time that he goes from middle-class podcaster to enterprise. There's a clear definition there. And not all enterprise podcasters are good, and I'm not going to call one by name, but I mean some of the stuff is a little silly. But
I think it's the same thing if somebody were to come to me, let's say let's say Microsoft, Xbox comes to me, right? And says for the next 3 years we're going to pay you $1 million a year to continue doing your show. What am I considered enterprise now?
Immediately.
And that's where that thing is. It's a large company or large corporation involved or backing what your show is doing.
Or owning it. Now,
or owning it, correct.
So here's my question. Now, having made that, we all agree on that, or I think we do. So here then is my question. Then at what point do you go from a hobbyist to a professional? At what precise moment in time? Now, before you answer the question, I'll think like a lawyer for just a second. If you are charged with murder, at what point in time is that charge going to stick as to whether you're liable? It would be at the moment you pulled the trigger, right? Everything else evolves from the moment that you pulled the trigger. That's a very clear moment in time. At what moment in time do you transfer from being a hobbyist to a professional or whatever the middle class is? And here's my criticism. My criticism is that people are calling themselves professional podcasters at whatever moment in time they choose to do so. There is no objective criterion that clearly says you have met this requirement, you now have reached professional podcaster.
I think it's got to do with advertising. It's got to do with advertising from going from professional to enterprise, and then I think it's the exact same thing from going to casual or from casual or hobbyist to professional or expert or whatever word you want to use. I think that's the only thing you can use for justification.
Well, Tim says, and I agree with this, 10 years in the field is what takes you to become a professional. That's assuming that there's no certification or classification, legal classification required. Expert is more how people perceive you. And I almost totally agree with that.
But I don't think it's fair to say, all right, a major company needs to back your podcast for you to go from professional to enterprise, but you need to have 20 years in the field to go from casual and or hobbyist to professional.
Let me give you an example. North Carolina, I found this out after I had been practicing a number of years in law. But Tim Barber will appreciate this. But if I have an undergraduate degree in electrical engineering from North Carolina State University, passed and all that.
All right.
So, and operated many years in my life as an electrical engineer. Let's suppose that I decide I don't want to work for the man anymore, so I set up an office where I will do contract engineering services for other people. It's a very lucrative business. I have several friends who do that and make a whole lot more money doing that than they do getting up and going to work every day for a company. And I decide I'm going to call myself Mike Phillips Engineering Services. It's against the law in North Carolina. Even though I'm an engineer, I cannot call myself an engineer in my business name. I cannot call myself an engineer because I do not have a professional engineer's license. The word engineering in a company name legally implies that the owner or at least some person in the company has a professional engineering license.
See, Mike, I think you keep making these, you keep going back to where there's actually a license or something to determine what you are, and there's nothing like that in podcasting.
Right.
So then I don't know how. I think that's why I think the only way to determine your professionalism or your classification, it's got to be monetary. I think there's nothing else. You can't. There's no degree. There's no organization, and if there was an organization, I'm sure it would be totally corrupt. There's no organization that says, Mike Phillips, you are a professional podcaster. Congratulations. Here's a banner to put on your website. Nothing like that exists.
Mike,
Well,
I would say we come up with that.
No, I think maybe, what's his name, Todd Cochran maybe has that. He can certify you.
Oh yeah, he could.
But even then, I'll give you an example.
Read what Eiffel just posted there.
Right. I understand, and if you're in chat, but again, the comment about if it is to be decided that there is some sort of criterion that has to be met to achieve the title of professional podcaster, who is going to be the certifying institution? For example, when Andrew started the IAIB, iBroadcastNetwork.org, go into the forum where there's a lot of discussions about technical issues, very helpful. You can learn just about anything you want to know about internet broadcasting and podcasting there. And when he started it, he got accosted by a person we have discussed in today's show about, what are you trying to do? You're going to kill my business. I charge people for this information.
Yep. That's what I was saying you're doing to these people who are running the shows.
Andrew said that's not my problem. So,
but some people perceive it like that.
Well,
but I don't think there should be an organization or group to give people to give people the classification, because it's going to end up being started or operated by one of these scam artists, and then it's just going to be, oh, hey, you give me pay for my stupid course, and now you're a professional podcaster. That's why I think it's just got to be something that's just like a loose interpretation. I'm not sure everybody thinks that Leo Laporte is an enterprise podcaster. I think that there's room for people to decide what they think is or isn't a enterprise professional or casual hobbyist podcaster.
I just had a thought on that, Nick.
Okay.
If somebody said Leo Laporte is not an enterprise podcaster, I'd say, you know what? If you want, we're being technical here. We're splitting hairs. That's the purpose of the conversation. But I would say that the fact that, and this is sort of ties in with what Donovan just said, when you consider, what's the name of his radio show?
The Tech Guy?
Is that the one that's on the radio?
It is.
I would suggest that the association with Premier Broadcasting and the Tech Guy alone would qualify him as an enterprise podcaster.
I would agree 100%.
If anybody thinks or if anybody is going to say it here, that while we were on the radio and doing the podcast at the same time, that we were professional podcasters, I will take him to task on that.
And I would agree.
Yeah, but Amna, he's not just on a radio station.
He could live off of that single affiliation.
He is with Premiere. He is with the radio group. He's on like 100-something stations across the country.
All that takes is an organization that will syndicate you. And they wanted to do it to our show, but they wanted money from us.
Yeah, that's not syndication.
And I said no.
That's buying time.
Yeah. No, he does not. They pay him to do the show. He's not paying the stations to air.
All right, so where we are is I'm not so convinced that this word professional is being applied appropriately. Maybe it is, and I don't mind being in the minority. What is clear to me is I absolutely, unequivocally am in no way, shape, or form a professional podcaster, nor am I even a podcasting consultant, because I don't do websites. I don't understand PowerPress plugin. I do not set up can I build a studio? Absolutely. I have built a radio station from the microphone all the way to the transmitter. I built recording studios, lock, stock, and barrel. Do I know how to do audio? Yes. Am I a professional? I don't know of any degree that I've obtained in audio engineering that would allow me to call myself a professional. Am I an expert? I've been called an expert, but I can tell you a lot of experts who know a heck of a lot more about it than I do. But that's always the case.
Mm-hmm.
I know enough to get the job done.
Right. I mean, just one thing to go back. Hey, Nick?
Yeah. What's going on?
I was not paying the station to do the show. They were paying me.
Okay.
But they weren't giving me money. They were giving me commercial instead.
Okay.
But there was a bunch of money.
In some definitions, that makes you a professional.
Yeah.
Now
if you were doing that show and the radio station was paying Amnon Nissan to show up and do his show, then
on the radio, we were podcasting it parallel.
Then I think that is somewhat of a justification of a professional.
No.
But it would not qualify as enterprise.
It would not qualify me to be a professional anything. I don't think I'm a professional podcaster. I don't think I'm a professional host.
Yeah, Leo Laporte is not. Leo Laporte himself is not an enterprise podcaster. It's what he does and what he is doing that gives him that thing. Just because it's going back to the same. Just because I'm a expert in gaming doesn't make me an expert podcaster. You can be a professional podcaster without knowing how to set up the website and how to install PowerPress. Do you think Adam Carolla has any clue how to install WordPress and install PowerPress and put?
Who knows? I don't. No, I don't.
I don't know.
I would say he probably doesn't. Maybe I'm totally off with that, but I would say that he's probably got somebody that's doing that for him.
Right. But my point was, when I brought that up, Nick, is that a lot of times, I mean, I get so many questions in a week that people ask me questions about how do you do this. I have no idea. I'm not interested in all that. I'm like all I know is, like, if you look at all the people who have followed Cliff's advice, you go to their websites and you've got the little leave your voicemail here pop-up thing. I mean, they all look exactly alike. They all have the same format. It's all, as soon as you get there, you can tell whenever they've copied what Cliff tells them to do. It's just blatantly obvious. But anyway, and that's fine. It works. It's a standard format and it works. I don't have any problem with it. But I don't do any of that.
It's not the only format that works.
It's not the only format, and somebody needs to be creative and come up with other things, and it'll happen over time.
Right. Right. Now, those of you cell phones.
I have one.
Here is a nicely transparent announcement. T-Mobile has identified customers who are heavy-duty users and are engaged in peer-to-peer file sharing and tethering outside of T-Mobile's terms and conditions. This results in a negative data network experience for T-Mobile customers. Beginning August 17th, T-Mobile will begin to address customers who are, I know I didn't switch, who are who are conducting activities outside of T-Mobile. Obviously, it's not a good announcement for people with unlimited plans. But at least it's clear T-Mobile also pulled the backward anti-net neutrality thing by happily announcing free streaming from select music providers, which is in effect making non-select usage fee-based. They're going to start throttling. So if you have T-Mobile and you bought it because, oh, I can do all this and data and Tether, no, not anymore. And this is important here for people that are doing their own networking and at work or even at home. There are Cisco routers, the older ones that have 512K RAM in there, that are beginning to forget IP networks because it reached a certain point. And apparently last week and before, there were, if you notice maybe slowness in what you were doing, it's because instead of them remembering all these, they had to go out and get those networks again because there was not enough room in the routers. And there are a lot of people that are still using the older Cisco routers. If you're doing any work, if you're in IT and you see that at work there are problems, people are having problems getting somewhere, or they see difference in the way that they're getting there, look at the specs of your Cisco router or any router. I would assume that if it's Cisco, then it's others too. If it has 512K, that's probably your problem. What is your problem? And you may be able to upgrade it. I don't know. I don't think every router is upgradable as far as RAM, but it's something to keep in mind and not being, why is this happening? And that's because of that we're running out of IPs, and believe it or not, they just issued the last part of it. But apparently it got to a point where, we can't see all these IPs in these routers. And that's, again, because back then nobody thought that we'll be hitting that limit anytime soon in mid-90s. If you have a new router, it's probably okay, I would assume. I don't know. It may still be 512. And talking about Cisco, they're cutting jobs again. They're going to cut 6,000. What?
They're not talking about it. They just did it.
Yeah, they were saying that they're going to cut as many as 6,000 over the next 12 months. That's a lot.
Yep, and those are very high-tech positions, too. They're not easy to replace most of those people.
And didn't happen here yet, but 2 of Microsoft's kernel mode driver updates, which often cause problems, are triggering a blue screen of death error messages on some Windows systems. That's from InfoWorld. Details at this point are sparse, but it looks like 3 different patches from this week Black Tuesday crop are causing blue screen with a stop 0x50 on some system. If you're hitting a blue screen, you can help diagnose the problem and perhaps prod Microsoft to find a solution by adding your voice to Microsoft Answers forum thread. I mean, there's no information yet out there that, oh, you need to do this or that. But I'm thinking to myself, why could you just roll it back? So if you see blue screen of death and they say on some, they don't say it's on XP, they don't say it's on 7 or 8 or whatever. They just say on some Windows operating systems. All right, I got a few more, but
no,
I'm going to yield.
The guy's name I was looking for.
What?
I found the guy's name I was looking for.
Okay.
One of the guys who, from what I understand, I talked to him about 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, and he's a good guy from what I know. But I think he was responsible for this part of the starting up the podcast movement. His name is Gary Leland. Gary Leland. And apparently he has also started a magazine called Pottertainment.
Oh, boy.
It says here, what is it he says here? It says, I've been in podcasting since 2004 and have loved it. I've made so many friends and my business has increased so much. That should be due there, Gary. Due to podcasting. I enjoy podcasting so much that I decided to create a magazine dedicated to it. Pottertainment is available in the iTunes store for iPads, iPhones, and iPods now. Then I will add it to Android next and to the Amazon Kindle after that. And let's see what it is he says here on this. I can't click on it to see. Dave Jackson is on the cover. And anyway, Gary Leland episode show. What is the Gary Leland show? Interview with Chris Brogan. What else here? Interview with Dennis Yu and Alex Hogue from Blitz Metrics to talk about Facebook and how to market on Facebook. Okay.
It always goes back to that, right?
Well, I mean, here. So I'm just scrolling down around, and from what I don't know, I'm just reading some things here that apparently Gary is a business owner and owns a number of stores, sports stores in his community. I don't know. I'm guessing at this. I don't. It says here. Here we go. I started my first retail store in 1979, my first e-commerce website in 1996, my first podcast in 2004, and in 2006, one of my websites was on Time Magazine's list of 50 coolest websites. Selling actual physical products is what I do and know best. In other words, I sell and ship stuff to my buyers. My goal is to share my 35 years of retail and marketing experience to help you succeed in your own online business. I have carefully chosen experts in many fields of social media to give their input on the show, and help take your business to the next level. I expect to release the first episode in mid-July. And so anyway,
have you released an episode yet?
Yeah, I think,
Okay, good.
Gary Leland, he's been doing the softball thing for a long time. I'm assuming he's released, this was Friday, June 27th. I'm assuming he's planning to release it. So anyway, here are his experts listed in alphabetical order. Tony Sakala is a WordPress expert. Lisa Duty, Twitter expert. Stephanie Ing, eBay and Amazon expert. Dave Jackson, podcast expert. Now, Cynthia Sanchez, Pinterest expert. Jeremy Vest, YouTube expert. Casey Watkins, Kindle book expert. AJ Wood, Adobe expert. Dennis Yu, Facebook expert. So he's got a lot of experts.
I actually could be considered a social media expert.
Well,
because I get now I get paid daily to do social media.
That's right.
For a company. So
that's right.
That
you
makes
do.
Me I'm a social media expert.
Or does it make you a professional?
I think that makes me an expert.
Well, I mean, Gary has a vested interest in this, and that's who should be doing these things. The people who are knee deep into the into the podcast community, they're the guys who need to be putting on these shows and need to be sharing what they've learned with others. He's the right one to be doing this. Now, we're all going to agree and disagree on who should be doing this and doing that. And on some of the names I mentioned, Nick has some inside information on some things that have gone on with these people, and it's kind of interesting to call them experts at least. And that's why I brought up all the semantics on the title and the podcasting professionals and all that. So it is what it is, and it's a lot of fun. And maybe one day I will have a podcast, and then maybe one day I can become a podcasting expert.
Unless you're on the list, you're not.
Really? Whose list is it?
I don't know. That guy's list.
I don't know.
What was the guy's name?
Talk about Amnon. There's no way in the world he would remember the discussion we had a long time ago, because I couldn't even remember his name. And so I mean, he's never heard of me, and he's pretty much into this. And what I say is actually very complimentary, and I intend it to be that way about Gary. I mean, when you go into podcasting circles, the movers and the shakers, his name comes up quite a bit. He is making contributions to the community. The magazine, I don't know if it's a paid or a free thing. It takes a lot of work to put a magazine together. Is incredible? I have no idea. I've never seen one. But for people who want to do this, and I love reading magazines about woodworking, about audio equipment, microphones, things of that nature. I love reading magazines. So maybe maybe this is a really good thing, but he's a mover and shaker making contributions, and from what I know is probably a good guy. But again here, and for example, I'm looking at this magazine cover here on Poddertainment magazine. Looks to me like there's a Warner Brothers logo on there. But down at the bottom it says Gary Leland talks about video podcasting. I have not seen. I'm going to have to look up his podcast. I think whenever he and I contacted each other, he was not doing video. I think he was only doing audio, and it was softball, and I have no interest in softball, so I don't remember much of a connection. But then down at the bottom, and I know this is just marketing, Amnon, but then down at the bottom it says exclusive interview with Dave Jackson.
So Dave Jackson was never on any other interview.
I don't understand that claim. And this has nothing to do with Gary. This has to do with media in general. Why is it exclusive interview? I'm watching the news the other day. We have an exclusive interview with the police chief in Missouri. Yeah, he was exclusive until you got through talking to him, and then you talked to every other media outlet there standing beside you.
Exactly.
Well, it's a buzzword.
I understand. I mean, Dave's a good guy. He does. I listen to almost every Saturday morning. He does a live podcast at 10:30, and I enjoy it. And I actually participate in chat from time to time. I enjoy it. I like his podcast. But exclusive interview, and I think even during this conversation, I think I've come up with what bugs me, and I don't know. Maybe I'll get over it. But you're going and. In looking at, for example, Gary Leland is interviewing Dennis Yu and Alex Hogue from Blitz Metrics to talk about, I think what bothers me is interviewing one podcaster interviewing another podcaster. I mean, how many people have interviewed Chris Brogan?
No clue. I've never heard of him.
You've never heard of Chris Brogan?
No, I do not believe I have.
You're kidding.
No, let me look. I've probably seen his picture. I just don't. I'm not.
I don't think I have. Who is?
How many people have interviewed? I mean.
Oh yeah. No, I know who he is.
All right. Everybody who's ever done a celebrity interview has interviewed Chris Brogan.
Yeah. No, I know who. I know. Who he is.
How many people have interviewed Pat Flynn?
Oh, Chris Brogan's he's at the podcast movement.
Right.
Yeah.
How many people have interviewed?
Nick Craig from RadarGaming.net.
Who?
Nick Craig from RadarGaming.
Yeah. I mean, one podcaster interviewing another, it gets really old. I mean, because everybody says the same thing over and over and over and over again.
It's all about making money. That's all they talk about. Most of the time.
Well, okay. Well, the good news is for people who love that thing, there's a lot of content out there for you.
Mike, you did how many interviews on the IIB? 2, 3?
3.
3.
I
That's
don't know.
3 hours.
Yeah.
I don't think there was overlapping in these interviews. I think you have
Oh yeah, always overlap. I don't know about
some overlapping,
I just come up with different ways of saying the same thing.
but
That's what I do
but
every week for On the Radar. It's great.
only because you're not being asked all the questions that you can answer, probably, or it's not relevant to the thing. But I think you can talk a lot longer than 3 hours in an interview about your experience and experience with sound and equipment and radio and all that stuff. So it's okay to have more than one interview. That doesn't mean that it's okay. Here's another one. All right, here he comes again.
Well, I get a lot
It's
of
not.
that too.
Nah.
But also, one of the other definitions I've heard that I guess I sort of subscribe to it is that a professional is someone who's done something for 10,000 hours.
Okay.
Oh my.
That's not the only definition. That's one definition.
Yeah, but it's okay, Mike. I'm going to fix you a certificate.
So I guess I'm a professional recording engineer. I'm a professional broadcaster. I'm
Mike, you know what you're a professional in? Video work.
Yes, I'm a video professional.
Absolutely.
Hate video. My camera's sitting over here on the floor. I don't even know how to use it.
It's unfortunate.
All right. Think it's that time again.
Yeah, we chased off everybody by now, I guess.
Yeah, let me plug this calendar again because we did it
Go
at
ahead.
the beginning of the show. Get the link. Oh, there it is. Check out the whenisit.on.net podcast calendar. Follow us on Twitter at whenisit.on for start times for the shows. All the times are on there. If you want to get your show on there, if you want to get a show that you watch on there, just tell people about it. You can fill out the form on the left-hand side of the page, and you can do all that stuff there. So there you go. There's the calendar. Here's the form. Fill out your information, submit it, and then you'll be on the calendar, and then you'll also be on the Twitter when your show starts. So there you go. Check it out.
Thank you. All right. Well, thanks, guys. This was an eye opener in many ways.
In
Right.
what way? I would be interested in knowing
Many
that.
ways. I'll tell you in secret. You have to come to my event to find out.
Okay. How much does it cost?
5,000.
That's nothing.
Okay.
You know what, Mike? Get a credit card. There you go.
I got a credit card. Nick, let me use his.
Let's see. A quick question. Movie Buff said, "Is there any other shows today aside from no? Not that's on the calendar. But if you Movie Buff, if you know of another show, send the link around to the podcasts you watch. Somebody mentioned Studio Tech before the right when we started talking about it. Send them a link to it. Get their stuff added to the calendar. The more the merrier. Give people something to watch.
So, good afternoon now, everybody. And good afternoon, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna. Thank you, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. I know I did. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9. But you can always reach us at computers2know.com. While you're at it, like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Tune in tomorrow morning at 11 for the Health End Show. At 1, it's Breaking Free. And at 7, it's the Tanya Love Show. See you, everybody.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, The Tanya Love Show, Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert, and if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by Atomus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals. That VidBlasterGuy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.